Well, that was shit. I'm probably gonna get demonetized for starting the show like that, but I mean, I don't have anywhere else to express myself. There was just shit. Welcome back, everyone. This is United versus Everybody. I am your host, Sean. And that was bad. I mean, that was honestly. I mean, it was pretty much what you'd expect from a match between the 16th and 17th place teams in the Premier League, right? It's just pretty much a bore fest, very sloppy, not really anyone doing anything worth of note. But I mean, there were literally no positives to take from that match, right? Like it was just bad from everybody. But still, I mean, losing to Spurs in a cup final, 1-0 as well, like not even scoring a goal is just that's just a new low for us for this club. Um, all that work in Europe just to go undefeated too is just such a bummer. But and all the shit performances we put in the league as well, and the results we've got, none of that would have mattered if we didn't lift this trophy. None of the undefeated, none of that. Like at the end, but we failed to lift the trophy, so none of it mattered. I don't care about undefeated means nothing anymore. This is like when the New England Patriots went undefeated in the season, only to lose in the Super Bowl to the Giants. And that was what, like 15, 16, 17 years ago or whatever now? Like, doesn't matter if you're undefeated if you don't lift the trophy at the end of the season. And we didn't lift the trophy. So, unlike Jamie Carragher, though, I'll show up after a loss like a man, like an adult, like someone who's got a bit of bollocks up to him. So, I am here. I've got my thoughts. I want to know yours, though, as we react to this match because it was just not great all around. So hit the like button, please, for me. I know it's not it's hard to be positive. Please subscribe to the channel if you are new. We are on the road to 3K. I'm not going to bore you with anything else with memberships and stuff. I'm not sure anyone's in the mood for all that today, but I'm sure the last thing right now on anyone's mind is buying more United swag. So I'm not going to tell you about going to the store and everything, but we're going to get stuck in, though, because I've got thoughts and I want to know yours. Big up, Danny. Hope you're doing well, my friend. So there's no positive to Amorim management, neither sack him for an unforgivable loss. I've got thoughts. So obviously I posted the poll in the chat. I want to know what you guys think maybe played the larger role in this, Amorim's team selection and substitutions, or maybe just the lack of quality in the players. You guys let me know. What do you think played the larger role? Now, both things can be true to an extent, right? And that's even saying like, oh, I think Amorim may have got his team selection wrong. That's not also saying that was the reason we lost. Something can be a factor without being the reason for the loss, if that makes sense. But I want to know what you think played the larger role in that result yesterday. But on the team selection, we can start. That's where we usually start with these, right? So, I mean, I was not a fan of the starting 11 when it came out. And I know that a few of you felt the same way. We saw some comments on my post ahead of kickoff. But this is also why we're going to skip right to this first point on my first thought, because it has to do with this. And my first thought was it was an iffy team selection. And this is not the first time since Amorim's arrival that we've criticized his team selection, right? I mean, we've said this many times. Now, early on in his tenure, you could somewhat forgive it simply because he was trying to learn a little bit. He was trying to see who was good, who was not good, who was going to fit. And he was trying to, get a feel for things, especially with the injuries. I get that. But I think that starting Shaw was a risk. It just was a risk. Shaw hasn't looked good these last few matches. Literally the only good thing I've seen Shaw do since he's come back from injury is put in a couple crosses. He's not like his defending has been great. His speed, obviously, he's taken a big blow these last couple of years. And even like against Brentford and whatnot, he just hasn't looked sharp or fit at all. He looks just completely out of his element. No Ugarte in the starting 11 was a huge, huge gamble. Danny, I think you said ahead of this one was, the midfield battle was going to be the important thing. And you got the legs and the energy and the fight from Ugarte, and it was completely out of the game. It was a big gamble. He's the one United player that you'd bet on to match Spurs in that midfield with the physicality, that energy, that attitude. He's the one player that if it comes down to a midfield battle, I'm like, yep, Ugarte, you're starting. He didn't even get a single minute, though. and he played just 20 minutes against Chelsea. So I'm hard pressed to think it had anything to do with fitness. Amorim just clearly did not see a place for him in this team today, in this final, in this match. I don't know what that was. Now, remember, Amorim was not here when Ugarte was signed. Amorim was at Sporting when Ugarte was sold by Sporting to PSG. So it's is he someone that Amorim really rates? If he's one of the ones that Amorim let go early on at Sporting when he was quite young. Remember, when he sold from Sporting, he was like 2021 or whatever, went to PSG. Does that mean that Ugarte is just not really in Amorim's plans? 20 minutes over 2 matches, including a final, is not a good look. It's just an odd decision, I thought. Well, what do you guys got here? Danny's all over it. Danny says, team selection and persisting with Shaw when everyone can see with their eyes that he's finished. Yeah, I did not get the Shaw decision whatsoever. I thought that was just very, very weird. Looking back, right, it's easy in hindsight to say, but I think just the way the match went, I might have rather put Mizraoui on that left-hand side, stuck with Yoro Maguire, and put Ahmad further on that right wing back, and then maybe started Garnacho alongside Mount. But again, hindsight, it is what it is. What this meant, though, again, was Mizraoui's at wing back, Ahmad in the 10 next to Mount, Bruno deeper in the pivot, Højlund leading the line, something that a lot of us maybe decided we didn't want to see. We thought maybe Højlund should have been benched for this one. I'm starting to think that Amorim sees Ahmad as a 10 and not a right wing back. I'm starting to think that he'd rather have him as a 10 who gets wide rather than a wing back who stays wide and then can only get to the byline. But he hasn't looked great these last couple matches in that 10 role, Ahmad. And quite frankly, we're going to talk about it in a little bit, he didn't look great again yesterday either. So very, very frustrating. It's not working out for either of them, though, Amorim and Ahmad playing him in that 10 role right now. So it's just really frustrating. Danny says, benching your only threat in behind a high line and Garnacho. Yeah. And again, it was just another thing of too little too late, Danny, because by the time Garnacho came on with 10, 20 minutes ago, Spurs had literally already spent that entire second half just parking the bus. They literally had 8 men along their box whenever we got into the opposition half. There was no need for that. It was like how we've said many times, Rashford is next to useless against teams who sit in a low block because you're not going to get that space. And by the time Garnacho came on, you weren't getting that space. We know how Spurs start. They play the high line. You should have started with the pace in ahead. I said that in the preview. I would have said Garnacho leading the line or even one of the 10s and having like a rotating, floating front 3. Didn't work out. It's really, really getting on my nerves. Danny says, playing Maz at right wing back instead of Ahmad or Dallos. Danny's just not having it at all from Amorim today. Danny says, not playing Cass Ugarte was suicide. It was just, I just did, some of the decisions were just very odd to me. I don't get it. I get that sometimes in a one-off cup final, you might want to shake things up a little bit just to maybe throw that. But that's why I think just not starting Højlund, playing some sort of a front 3 instead of a 2 and then a striker would have maybe been the better option. But I didn't think Shaw, I think, was definitely a big hurt for us. I do think that he and Onana played a big part in the goal we conceded. It was not a good goal. It was a scrappy, very lucky goal. They called it a Johnson goal. I didn't see Johnson get a touch on it. To me, that was a Shaw OG, but I don't think that UEFA wants to give the winning goal in a final as an OG. I think they wanted to give it to Spurs, but Danny says, can't even win 2 Premier League games in a row, persisting with Gashmis up front instead of slowly giving Obi starts, sack him. Yeah, a lot of people are changing their tune a little bit here on Amorim today. This is why we wait until the next day to do match reactions more often than not, unless it's like an early match and I can squeeze in an afternoon. It just takes a while to put together the show, and I don't know what I'm going to put together until the match is over with, so it is what it is. But the starting 11, iffy. But then team selection also means substitutions, what changes you make. And the very, very, very late changes were quite frustrating. I'm not going to lie. No subs until the 71st minute. But by then, again, like I just said, it was too late. Spurs had already shut up shop. They'd already got their goal in the first half. They already said, you know what, we're just going to sit back and hit him on the break. And that's just what they did. What was Garnacho going to do at that point? What was a less than half fit Joshua Zirkzee going to do at that point with 20 minutes left? And then you get a rusty, fresh back from injury Dallo on in the 85th minute. I don't know what he was going to do. And what the actual fuck was the thought process behind bringing on Kobbie Mainoo in the 90th minute? What was that? What was that going to do? You waited till there was 20 minutes left in regular time to do anything when it was clear from the first half that what you had done was not working. Was not working. You got it wrong. I get that there's a fine line, right? I get that the managers, they want to back themselves. They want to back their tactics, their decisions. I get it. But there's a very fine line between backing yourself and like being stubborn and like just to the point where it's to your own detriment, right? To where it hurts you. And I think last night was the latter. I think that Amorim just this whole like party line of I'm going to stick what I know. I'm not going to change. Like some in a one-off final, Ange changed in the second half last night. Ange changed it up. Stopped playing his high line for 45 minutes and saw out the result. He went full Mourinho last night, Ange Postecoglou, and that's what you have to do sometimes. Ten Hag did that last year in these big games, and that's what you have to do sometimes. You care more about making sure that your system is being implemented in a cup final, a one-off match, or do you care about lifting a trophy? Because you can't always have both. We're not there yet in terms of just the system's going to get the job done. We're not there yet. So in a one-off, we should have gone back to what we did before the international break. Should have sat a little deeper, made ourselves hard to break down, hit them on the counter in that first half, try to get a couple of really good chances, exploit that space in behind, and then we should have shut up shop. But we didn't. I just don't get what these late subs were going to do. What impact was Kobbie Mainoo going to have coming out in the 90th minute when we're just spamming balls into the box over and over and over again? Like, I don't get the point of that. This isn't the first time that we've questioned Amorim's team selection. This isn't the first time we've questioned his substitutions. We can say, right, he doesn't have his players, but I don't think last night he picked at starting 11 and he made team changes to put us in the best position to get a result. It was very, very uninspiring, very, very frustrating. Let me get caught up here in the chat, you guys. Sorry. Let's see. Danny says, what positives says Amorim brought? I can't think of one. Well, again, there is an argument to be said. Again, it's going to sound like I'm like I'm not just defending. I'm trying to, present perspective here. That's my job here. So he came in mid-season. We were 14th when he came in. So it is what it is. You don't sack a manager mid-season if things are going well. He didn't have preseason, no transfer window really other than January, and we don't really count January, do we? No time to train for the first couple months, and then again, the players that we have are just shit. Like, we've been saying this for the last couple of years. We don't just get to forget about that reality because we're angry right now. The players are still bad. They're just the way it is, and so how much can you get out of some of these players? I don't know, but I do have a lot of thoughts here because I'm not letting Amorim off the hook. I'm very, very critical of him, as you guys have already tell. But I think that there's more to go. So, we got a Spurs fan here. Welcome to the channel, the Keb. You're welcome to be here. There's nothing wrong with that. Keb says, thanks for bringing Garnacho on late. He looked very good. Yep. Yeah, he definitely should have started Garnacho, I think. And do you think that would have been a good way to kind of get us in there? Danny says, the only thing Amorim has created is a chant in the Stretford and sack him. Danny's just not having it. Hey, I'm here for it, man. You guys know we welcome. Bat time. Welcome back, dude. How are you? Shout out DSM5. Use that to explain the subs. Yep. You guys, that is the diagnostic and statistical manual for a therapist like myself. That is the criteria book for diagnosing anybody who comes to therapy. Everybody gets a diagnosis, whether you go to the dentist, whether you go to the doctor, whether you go to therapy. From the first visit, you get a diagnosis, and that's the book that helps you figure out what to diagnose people with. So big up for recognizing that, legend. Danny says, Bat time. Welcome to the channel, Bat time. He's having a quick United breakdown. Well, don't let it ruin your day. We can, the 5-5-5 rule, right? Do you want to let this ruin the next 5 seconds, the next 5 minutes, or the next 5 hours? Like, probably not. Just chill here. Danny said, same diagnosis here, pal. Guys, whew, I'm not going to charge you guys unless that Spurs fan jumps back. Then you might get charged twice for the therapy. Box, big up, Box. Good to see you, man. Hope you're doing well. Niall, big up, Niall. Hoping everybody's doing well. Welcome to the channel, Niall. So, Amorim's team selection iffy. We talked about that a little bit. The starting 11, the subs. I think the late subs really frustrated me more often than not. There was about 10, 15 minutes later than Amorim usually makes subs. It was probably a good 40 minutes later than it was evident that we needed to change things up. But again, fine line. Back your decision, back your tactics, or is it being stubborn? Where does that line draw? But you guys, let me know your thoughts. On to like the match itself and the stats and whatnot. By the time says we're ready to sack everyone but Euro. Yeah, Euro is about the only player last night who can hold his head up a little bit. Because don't let the numbers fool you. Like I was talking to Justin on the phone yesterday. He had to work, so he wasn't able to watch. And he was like, I was looking at the stats, and he was like, the stats look good. And I'm like, don't let the numbers fool you. We were nowhere near as good as some of the stats would suggest, right? But what's frustrating to me is it's Spurs weren't even like good. Like they weren't. They grabbed a very scrappy, very lucky goal as a result from just, again, shit defending, shit keeping. And then they just parked the bus for 45 minutes. I mean, it's just the way it was. They just weren't as shit. Vicario and Van de Ven basically won that game for me because we had a shit ton of shots, and that's not me being bitter. That's just the facts. Vicario and Van de Ven's crazy kung fu matrix kick at the end, that won it for him. And again, like I said, to be fair to Ange, he changed it up a little bit. And that's what you have to do on these one-off games. Again, the numbers will fib. 73% possession from us overall, 80% possession in the second half. Again, what does that tell you? They were sitting back. But it doesn't matter how much possession you have if you don't do anything with it. I think how many times have we said that this season, these last couple months, especially when we've dominated possession, we're not doing anything with it. 16 shots from us, 6 of which on target, 14 shots from inside the box, 39 touches in their box. They just had 11 in ours. But again, all that still just led to an XG of 0.85 for us. Like, what does that tell you? That tells you that we're shit in the final phase of attack. There's no way statistically that you should have that many shots from inside the box, that much possession, and have an XG of less than 1. Like, that's absolutely atrocious. We created just 3 big chances, and we completed 431 passes to Spurs, just literally 4 times as much. They had just 115. Like, we had the ball, but they were happy to let us do that. It doesn't mean we were dominant. It means that Spurs just got their goal and they said, break us down. That's all and we couldn't, because we have been shit in the final third all season. Everyone. It's just the way it is. Let's see what we got here. Bath Time says Mick Scudetto is on though. Yeah, McTominay's up for it. I think so. Inter have to win, right? And then they have to hope Napoli lose, basically. Or don't win, basically. That's the only way they could do that. So that's interesting. Brendan, welcome. Brendan Chappell can't sack the future captain. Bath Time says, I feel the same way I did after that. Liverpool shambles. 80% of who started should be out in 24 months. I mean, 80% of who started should be out in 24 hours. It's like, that's just the way it is. Danny says, we could have played another 45. I don't think we would have scored. Not the way that things were going. It just wasn't happening. Everybody who's been in good form recently, Bruno, Amorim, even Ahmad to an extent, they were all just bad. Like, and that's, I posted it. Like, what do you do? Like, what can you do when literally everyone is having a bad match? Like, everyone just decided not to show up. Lionhearts, g'day. How are you? DJ Laz Worldwide, big up. Welcome to the channel. New sub here. Great points there. My frustration is after all those good speeches from Amorim, he goes on to start the injured guys, Shaw, Mount, and then leaves Casemiro alone with Basuma for 70 minutes. I will say Basuma probably should have seen a yellow earlier. If you noticed, Spurs were going really hard on some of these late challenges and these cynical fouls, but like, it wasn't always the same Spurs player that was doing it in succession. They would switch off now and then. So like at one play, like Van de Ven would wrap up Højlund, draw a foul, we get a free kick. But then the next play, it was like, what's the dude's name? Romero instead. So they weren't trying to rack up like persistent fouls and stuff. I do think the ref let a lot of what Spurs were doing go, though. I do think that some of that was ridiculous, but it is what it is. But big up, DJ. Welcome to the channel. Always good to see a new face in here. So on some of the players, though, can an argument be made that, you know, when you look at the numbers, when you look at the opportunities that we had, and especially those first couple minutes, right? Can an argument be made that Amorim's system does get us into these scoring chances? Does allow us to register all these shots and does allow us to control possession? Because again, this isn't the first time that the numbers have been in our favor. But so can an argument be made that the system is working, but maybe it's just the players who aren't able to kind of turn that final screw and get it over the line? Is that an argument to be heard? We know that these players aren't physical enough. Many managers have said it, from Ollie to Jose to Ten Hag. Ragnick complained about the squad and needs an overhaul. Amorim has come in. One of the first things he's done is try to get him to work on that physicality. I mean, but we've literally said in the preview and in many other shows that the worst Premier League sides are still more physical than some of the better sides in Europe. That's how Spurs and United got to this final, because we can still be more physical than the Bilbaos, the Sociedads, all these guys. But the moment we show up against a Premier League side in Europe in a final, that gulf in physicality that we normally see in the Premier League between United and literally everybody else was front and center on show, you know, along with the mental weakness. It just, the players did not look up for it yesterday. They just did not. Once again, you know, we just failed to capitalize on that promising start. Spurs didn't roll over and just let us have it like a lot of these other European sides have done. And I do think United's players just got into their own heads. They started playing the what if game. They started worrying more about losing. Like, what if this doesn't work? And then, like, instead of just playing the game that was in front of them, they just got into their own heads. You could see it after the first like 9-10 minutes when it just didn't go our way. That's a lack of resilience. It's mental weakness. It's just poor attitude, poor mentality. And it's not good enough. And I'm starting to worry almost if there's too much work that needs to be done in this squad to fix it. I worry so much about that because so many of these players are just not good enough. What's everybody? Danny says, I can't find anything positive with this system. I mean, it works in Portugal. It's worked in Champions League this season. So it remains to be seen if it's going to work in the Premier League. But again, it's up to Ineos to decide, you know, is it worth the risk or is it just better to go? Again, there's that age-old thing. We've seen it since Amorim arrived. Do you change your system to suit the players you have, or do you try to work on your system and eventually try to build that squad? He went through the same thing at Sporting. If Ricardo Diaz pops on, he'll let us know, our Sporting fan. He went through the same thing. It wasn't all bunnies and flowers at Sporting. He came in, I think, March of 1920 season, and they finished fourth, and then they won the league the next season after he was able to kind of cull some of the squad and get in players that he saw that would fit for him. Danny says, maybe having a free wing back at times in counter. Yeah, it's frustrating. Bath Time says, we also played against 10 men a lot. DJ says, yeah, that's why we needed Ugarte to do that dirty work for us, I think. Yeah, that's what we were saying to start, DJ, like the team selection. Starting Shaw, not starting Ugarte was a big question mark for me. I mean, Ugarte didn't even get a minute yesterday. He got 20 minutes against Chelsea, no minutes today. I don't understand the mentality there, but it's very, very frustrating. Buck says, this is the worst Spurs side since 1998. Yeah. And that again, they're not good. We were just that bad on the day. Just that ineffective. Danny says, Shaw was so horrible playing out the first phase. Yeah, we were so hesitant. We were just doing that horseshoe passing pattern around the back. We would get the ball into a little bit advanced positions, even inside their half, and then we would just stop and it would just pass back. Like, very rarely maybe until like the last 10 minutes or so did even Ahmad, when he would get his head down and just try to take, he was like, if I squinted a little bit, it almost looked like a carbon copy of what Anthony has done, like get the ball and then stop and then pass it back instead of just trying to beat your man and get forward. Like, there was not the same Ahmad that I'm used to seeing, and it was very frustrating. Bath Time says, the same Spurs side you predicted to win the title. You guys are going crazy. Brennan says, we've been trying to buy ourselves out of this shit for the last 10 years. Money can't solve the core issue. No, that's absolutely right. I've said many times a big problem has been the last decade. whether it's the lack of structure and a lack of like recruitment planning. So like just changing players for every manager every couple of years, or just the fact that the result of that and the PSR issues have made it so we literally can't strengthen. But I've also said many times that we need to build, not buy. It's not about spending. It's about how you spend it. Sometimes rather than going out and spending $100 million on a world-class player during a certain phase in your rebuild, you might have to go spend that $100 million on like 4 players who maybe no one's even ever heard of before, in order to build out this squad, maybe raise the floor of the squad in terms of just overall quality and technicality and mentality. And then you get to that like Cantona icing on the cake kind of signing a couple years down the line. But there's got to be a short-term plan and a long-term plan, and you've got to find a way to balance both of those at the same time. You're playing offense, defense, football at the same time. It's really annoying. Bass says, if Spurs get a point this weekend and we lose at 17th place, yeah, I honestly, I've got thoughts on that too, but I'm freaking annoyed. Brennan says, a save player can play like shit for one club and be a world beater for the other. Yeah, and I've said that too. More often than not, like, it's not just clubs for me when it comes to signing players. And it's not just players. Like, it's not just enough to be like, oh, we're going to United, it's going to be great. And it's not enough for us to just say, go get this player from another club. It's all about the system. If that player that everybody wants does not suit the system that we are currently playing, it might not matter whatsoever. They can be the best player in the world, but if they don't suit the system, they're going to look like shit. That's why Anthony went to Betis and looks like a world beater, because he can't really do this system and he can't really hang with the physicality of English football. That's why Sancho has been shit since we signed him from Dortmund. Look at him at Chelsea. Sancho's out here trying to post on social media after we lost yesterday, but what the fuck has Sancho done since he joined Chelsea? Literally nothing, because he can't hang in the Premier League. And when he gets found out, he throws a tantrum about it like a child. Batham says, not always the case in the Prem, though. It is something that needs to be investigated thoroughly. Yep. No, you're right, man. Battime blames LVG. I think that 19 transfers he made gutted the club. Well, there's a lot of people that argue that LVG should have been given more time. LVG, well, he was a good manager, right? He just did not, it was the exact opposite of the football that we want to see at United. And Dutch managers traditionally do favor system over player. And so they were willing, that's why you saw guys like Daley Blind and Schneiderlin and some of these like randos that not many people have heard of. They're not bad, but it's instead of like the big signings, because he was more about that system working. Box says we deserve better. Well, go tell the players, man, because they are on fraud watch, literally every one of them. DJ says, what's the way forward from here? We're in a bad position to negotiate deals apart from Cunha and the potential sale of players. Well, we're going to get to that point. Brandon says LVG does take away the joy of playing if you don't speak Dutch. I mean, he was comedy gold on the touchline, but did win us an FA Cup, so there is that. Danny says, shopping and championship and kids in South America, all will be able to afford this summer, I think. We will see. Box says, what did Sancho say? He posted like a crying, laughing emoji or something, and like eyeballs, like the eyeball thing last night. So, and this guy's supposed to be coming back to the club this summer, according to reports this morning, because Chelsea don't want him. Like, dude, like, have some fucking humility and some self-awareness. You're literal shit. You have no room to banter anyone. But yeah, Danny, we are probably going to be having to to say shop in the bargain aisle doesn't necessarily mean like we're getting shit, but it's just, you're going to have to get creative. You're going to have to look for some deals. You're going to have to really, really, really push your scouting and your recruitment and your director of football to uncover hidden gems. Find these players that maybe don't cost as much. You're going to have to go find your Yasharis and whatnot to get that done. But yes, it's not good enough. Like I said, I'm starting to worry that there's a lot of work to be done, as some of you guys have said. But I'm going to move on to my next point as we start talking about more of these players, because quite frankly, no one had a good game. Like, nobody had a good game. Now, some people had a less shit game than their teammates, but it does not mean they had a good game. Because we can question Amorim's team selection all we want, right? But at the end of the day, no matter who he picks, whether you agree with it or not, whether you rate them or not, no matter what, those players have to show up on the day. And yesterday, they did not show up. I've said it before. You can get away with having a bad game from like one, maybe two players. One or two players could have an off game on a given day, and you can get away with it. But when literally almost everybody in the squad has a shit day, you're going to be hard pressed to get a result. Literally everything we discussed in the preview came to pass, and not in a good way. Spurs got the ball into those wide positions outside their box. Exactly what we're going to do. Kept putting it in the box. Exactly what we said they were going to do. We didn't put pressure on it, which is exactly how we got ourselves into these rough situations. Is players have nothing but time in those wide areas to pick a spot in the box and deliver across, because no one's getting within 5 yards of them. How many times have we seen that happen this season? We moved the ball too slowly. Again, too hesitant, too cautious, didn't get forward fast enough. We constantly allowed Spurs to get back in their shape. Wide players way too cautious and hesitant to take on their man and progress the ball. And we constantly walked into these pressing traps, constantly, because we were too slow and the players just weren't backing themselves in these 1v1s. Onana had another shaky night. You can literally tell that leaving his line is the last thing he wants to do. He is not comfortable with it at all. Did you guys remember that one Spurs attack where a ball was getting put into the box and Onana, he runs off his line for 4 yards and then he's like, oh shit. And then he immediately gets back, but he's too late. He realized his mistake too late. He was caught in no man's land, and now he's like, this is either going to go wide or we're going to concede because I've literally made a mistake here. And this is what happens when you're not comfortable: is your discernment in those situations is shit. Your confidence in that, he's not committal. He's cowardly in his box. He can't do that. Shot stopping is obviously the top priority, but you guys know how I feel. Is I need my keepers to be confident, command their area, and Onana, even De Gea, they don't have that. He should have done way better for their goal, I thought, Onana as well. He's just so bad. He's literally so bad. And you guys know that I feel that way. I've said this so many times. I can't defend him. I stopped trying to defend him. And what was with this shit? Did you guys see this? I'm going to put this on the screen so you guys can help me understand what happened here. Let me make it big for you. I think I muted it this time. So if you guys want the music, it's too bad, because I got yelled at by YouTube last time because my computer is always muted, so I don't know when there's music. But apparently that clip I showed you from that West Ham game, there was music on, so YouTube didn't like that. So, but what was going on here? Let me know your thoughts. So obviously this is another situation where just no communication. I think that was at a corner for us too. Yeah, so that's some bullshit. And Casemiro is just not happy. So he turns, and then he and Onana just get into it. So there's one, fuck off. There's two, fuck off. 3 fuck offs. 4 fuck offs. So Onana gets a 4 fuck off count from Casemiro. I don't know what, you guys tell me what you think that was all about, because that was insane. Let me go back to this. Sorry. I saw that this morning and I was like, what is going on there? Onana's not great at communicating, right? He had that little mix up with Dorgu earlier as well. The ball was coming across. Clearly it was going out. Onana's trying to talk to him, but by then it's too late because Dorgu's momentum is already carrying him into the box. So he can't get out of the way of that ball. And we can see the corner. Again, not the first time we've seen Dorgu and Onana have a little miscommunication either. Let me see what you guys are saying here. DJ says, what happens when we support Amorim now he's lost faith for most United fans? He loses games in the opening games. He's gone now. Cycle continues. Yeah, we're getting on that point a little later, so don't forget. We'll come back to that. But I think part of it, DJ, I think that, we are here we can vent, and obviously we're all upset. I think the recency of it is still hurting a lot of people. I think a lot of people are very upset. I think in a couple days, maybe not a couple days, maybe a couple weeks, maybe we'll move past the Villa game, but we'll maybe be able to look at things a little bit. And the summer is going to have a big impact as well. Box says, Sancho must be one of the only players you've had a club pay a forfeit not to buy you. I'll tell you what, Dortmund are laughing all the way to the bank for the money that they got from us for him. Bath Time thinks the team Amorim put out was fine. It's the fact that he didn't change them when they were crap that worries me. I mean, again, it's everyone's opinion, how they rate Amorim's starting 11. The Shaw the Shaw and then the no Ugarte thing definitely raised eyebrows for me anyway. Those are the two things that I probably wouldn't have liked. I had no problem starting Euro because I do think even a half fit Lenny Euro is better than a 100% fit Luke Shaw at this point. It's just how I feel. But Locke says Bruno, Ama, Casemiro, three of the better players all hand their worst performances of the season. Yeah, literally. I'm not calling all the players like shit overall, but a lot of them, like you're saying, those three big ones, even Maguire to an extent, did not have good games. And you can't get away with that, especially when they are your best players. And they're the ones who we're looking to week in, week out to drag us over the finish line in some of these games and who've delivered for us in these big matches too in Europe when they just have a poor game. The writing was on the wall. Like like Danny said, you feel like we could play another 45 minutes and nothing was going to change. Brendan says, am I the only one that remembers Man United having a good run of games and then Ratcliffe then playing the squad wasn't good enough in the news and then it's all falling apart? He said the squad wasn't good enough. I don't remember him saying that the squad. I remember him saying that about Nice, that he didn't like watching Nice because he didn't think the quality of football was good enough. But did he? I don't remember now what he said. You'll have to let me know. Danny said, if Onana's here next season, we're finished, dude. Onana's got to go. He's just so bad. I've said it before, you guys. He's a net negative in the squad when he plays because it's the same with Højlund. We complain so much about the basics that Højlund can't do right now. Onana literally can't do any of the basics, and he's like 29 years old. He's been in the Champions League final. Like, it's ridiculous. If Onana's here, he will cost us points. He cost us the Champions League last season, just not getting out of the group phase with some of his mistakes. He's cost us, literally single-handedly cost us matches this season. I've told you guys before, I was at the Brighton match a few months ago. Like, Justin and I were at that match, and the goals we conceded, again, one of them was just a typical Onana gaffe. Like, shot comes in, he palms it right back into the middle of the box, and a Brighton player came in with a rebound. Like, he's done that literally a handful of times this season, and it's just, I can't defend that. He's just one of the worst keepers I've ever seen in my life. Bach says, Onana would have benefited from learning his trade at somewhere like Barca or Ajax. That's a good one. DJ says, only final we have won since 2009 is versus Onana. Yeah. Danny, oh yeah, we're talking about the Casemiro. Yeah, no one respects him. He's just so bad, dude. Onana may put on a front like, oh, I don't let things bother me, but the guy he's not a confident player. He's just not. And I think he's putting up this front to try to convince himself or convince other people that he's comfortable. He's not. He is literally a duck on the pond. You know, on the surface, it is very calm, but underneath the surface, those legs are just kicking away a mile a minute because he just looks afraid. Anytime the ball is within 20 yards of his goal, he's like, oh shit, here we go again. Batham says, that's not that serious. It's shut up and for the corner. Yeah. I mean, he did get like 4 fuck-offs from Casemiro, so I'm not sure what the deal was there. Oh, Rich, big up, Rich. Such a poor line. Yeah, the starting 11, I wasn't happy about. Euro was maybe the only United player who could hold his head up. But again, what does that say on the day that when your teenage center back, first season in the league, literally was injured for almost the first half of the season, is the only one that shows up in a European Cup final? What does that tell you about these players on the day? And in the final 10 minutes as well, Euro was like our go-to. He was up there as like this deep lying playmaker. He was the fulcrum for everything. He was carrying the ball. He did take a stupid shot. Like as soon as he took that shot, I was like, fuck, what are you doing? But he was the only one who was willing to do anything in those final 10 minutes. You could say he was the best of a bad bunch, but it's not saying much. Maguire didn't look anywhere near as good as he has, even in the box where he's constantly like our go-to tactic, like hoof it to Harry, hoof it to Harry. He just wasn't doing it on the day. And it just, again, I've said it before, that the fact that that's our go-to tactic when we're trying to get something is just stick Harry in the box, let him basically play as a number 9 and just hoof it and hope. Like, it's just so uninspiring. And that's one of my biggest criticisms of Amorim. You can say that it's gotten us results, but if that's your tactic, it's so annoying. Like, you can't tell me that that's Amorim's system doing that, right? But he's done it time and time again. Like, why is that the one aspect of his system that he's willing to sacrifice on, but not other areas? Why isn't he willing to, like, move the ball a little faster? Why isn't he willing to play a little bit more counterattacking opportunities? But he's willing to sacrifice everything, risk it all for a final 10-minute hoof it to Harry and hope for the best tactic. Like, that's not your system. And you can't tell me that that's your system. Sorry. Let me take a drink of water here, guys. You guys, make sure you're hitting that like button. Make sure you're subscribing to the channel. Please do get your thoughts in, because I really do value your opinion. I want to know. I've got my notes, but I just want to know. Danny says the cycle continues. Hopefully it doesn't. Again, the big difference is between the whole cycle continues is the fact that it is new ownership. It is a new recruitment structure. So, but the evidence hasn't shown us yet either way whether it will be different or not. We've only had one summer, the first summer, different manager. We've had a January window, which was better than a lot of other January windows we've had. Not saying it was great, but it was better. So we've got this summer, but they have to get the summer perfect. Yes, we took a hit, but we have to get the summer perfect. It can't stop the process. It should only mean like less of like bonus players on like extra players. It shouldn't mean that it just kills our summer. Bath Time says, "Oh my God, it's Rich. I never knew everyone came." Yeah, Rich jumps on now and then. Amorim doesn't appear to get a decent performance out of any player at the moment. Yeah, I'm struggling to think like what players you can say like he's improved. Now I've seen like Hausen say like people do overestimate sometimes the role that a manager has in individual like player development. I think a lot of us were spoiled by what Sir Alex did with a lot of players, and we think that that's the way it should be. It's not. Sir Alex is the outlier. That's like comparing every like attacker to Messi. Like everyone's going to look like a failure when you compare him to literally one of the best in their position. It's just the way it is. Managers very rarely take these players and mold and develop them into these world beaters. That's not a very common thing. The fact that Fergie did it with a few players is just like pure magic. Like that's unheard of. That's like Fergie descended from the heavens to grace us with his gifts. That's what that means. But you're right. It doesn't seem like he's able to get a performance, and I've got thoughts on that too. But Shaw was shit as always. He was just from the opening whistle. Shaw was poor. He already looked shaken from the opening whistle. Literally, like I said, the same that he looked against Brentford. Just looked like a boxer who wasn't expecting to get hit and got hit, and he's like, "Oh shit, what do I do?" Mizraoui though, I thought Mizraoui had a shocker. I've seen some people say that Mizraoui had a good game. I thought Mizraoui had an absolute shocker, to be honest. He did win the most duels, so I'll give him that. But the eye test was not flattering at all. I was shocked when I read on FootMob that he won the most duels, because I'm watching the game and I'm like, dude, you're having an absolute shocker today. We can sit here and say like he's better in that right center back role than he is in that wing back role, but it doesn't mean he's great as a right center back. It doesn't mean I want to move forward for the next 4 years with him as a right-sided center back. He was bought as a right fullback for a different manager in a different system. He's been shuffled around as center back and wing back. He'll have great games, and I do think he's a good player. But again, another one who just had a shit day at the office yesterday. Dorgu wasn't awful, but he wasn't good. He and Onana they don't ever seem to be on the same page. Dorgu gets a little grace because he's 20. He just joined in January. You hope maybe your preseason's going to help him, but I like his fight. I like his energy. I like his attitude. It's just the skill is not quite there yet, but we can just hope that he gets there. I'm just not my thoughts on Dorgu is I'm not sure that he's enough right now. Like, I don't know if I'm confident if he's our only left-sided wingback, if that makes sense. Like, I feel like we might need someone better, even older, to come in and do something over there. But you guys let me know what your thoughts. Let me jump on here. So Danny says, anyone in the chat, please subscribe and hit that like button. Also subscribe to United Agenda and Red Devil United, also great channels. Red Devil says, Rich says Rasmus is worse than Onana. That's a low bar. Yeah, Onana, I'm always going to give more stick to the older players than I am the young players, just because they're older. They should know better. It's like how the older child in a family, like there's different standards, right? They should know better. They're the older child. But that's not me saying Rasmus hasn't been shit, because he's been absolute shit. That Sims. The only redeeming factors for Amorim at the moment is what can you do with Rasmus and Onana. But then he picks them. I mean, what are his options other than Bayindir is not really better than Onana. Højlund is our only number 9. Now, yesterday I wouldn't have started Højlund at all, and we talked about that in the preview, but his hands are tied in a lot of ways right now. But again, should he be getting better than what he's getting? It's that age-old question, right? Are the players shit, or should you be getting better? Rob says, defenders have confidence in their keeper, and Onana doesn't give that. No, he does not. I would not at all be confident as a defender with Onana behind me. I'd be terrified to death. I would literally, any situation, I would assume that I'm going to have to do everything because he's not going to come off his line. Like, he's just not. And so I'm going to have to do everything. Onana is just he's literally one of the worst keepers I've ever seen. Rich says, first sub, 71 minutes, Amorim froze. Yeah, it's just, that was not a good look. Casemiro, I thought, did fine, but I mean, again, not great, and uncharacteristically not at all threatening on set pieces. Again, just nobody was up to their normal standards. If he wasn't closing down his own teammates to collect the ball and then hit a Hollywood ball, Bruno, too, was not doing anything. Bruno just anonymous, I thought. He just looked like he could not care. And even after the match, I mean, he just didn't look anywhere near as upset about losing this one as he did in that 2021 final. He was in tears in that final. This one, he just looked like just completely numb, like just completely switched off mentally. And I thought he was back to his worst in many ways. A lot of his passes were just these one-touch, no-look, low percentage, high-risk balls. He was a little bit more composed late on. There were a couple opportunities where I thought the Bruno of a couple years ago would have just tried to rip a hopeful shot. He wasn't. He was really trying to find a better teammate in a better position, but I can say that teammate in a better position, but again, that teammate is probably shit. It's just what it is. It's just not good enough. Mount had like one decent moment, largely anonymous though. Like, I don't remember him really ever touching a ball until he had that one moment of fight in the box. Højlund was his usual ineffective self, but I was actually happy to see the ref give us a few free kicks because I don't think people realize just how much Højlund has been pushed and pulled by Premier League defenders this season, and it's never been called. It wasn't until like the last couple weeks that the refs are really starting to call those, and it's too little too late. I'm not saying that that's the reason why he's like not been doing well, because he's been shit, but I'm like, it's just nice to see the refs start to call that. But Ahmad, poor, very poor compared to what we know he can do. He looked very cautious. Like I said, he's just receiving the ball and then just didn't want to take on his man, just passing it back. And it just killed our opportunities. It killed our actual progressive momentum time and time again. And it allows Spurs to get back into shape. And it's just, you can't do that. You just can't do that. And it wasn't even like Ahmad was up against like prime Aaron Wan-Bissaka or something, or like Ashley Cole out there. Like, he was literally up against Richarlison more often than not in these 1v1s, occasionally Destiny Udogie, but then it was Heung-min Son later on. Like, that's who he was up against. He was up against attackers and he could not get by him. Richarlison just snatched the ball from him on more than one occasion. And it was just absolutely fuming about it, man. He did not look great at all. And I will say this, Ahmad really could stand and learn to like pass and move. He holds onto that ball just a little too long sometimes. Now, he is one of the few players who can do something, who can hold on to it, but it's all about decision making. You have to know when to pass and move and when to hold on to it. And Ahmad's go-to seems to be holding on to it for far too long, and then we lose possession. So, but like I said, everyone had a bad match, and you're never going to get a result when that happens. Let me get caught up here in the thing here. Rich says, Euro Dorgu, no one knows if Onana is going to stay on his line or start running out. Yeah. And the times Onana has run out, like that one instance last night, like I said, and then that that Ipswich match where he and Dorgu conceded that OG because Onana, literally for the first time I've ever seen him, just comes barreling out of the freaking barreling out of his box like he's prime Barthez, and then like everyone, I think Dorgu was like, "What the fuck are you doing, bro?" But that's why I say he's shit, because he's not comfortable with it, and because he's not comfortable doing that, it always looks like that when it happens. Red Devil says, "Why not Euro, Maz, Maguire back three?" I think that's who I picked going into this. An argument could have even been made to start Lindelof over Shaw if you were really opting for Mizraoui on the right wing back, because I think Lindelof has actually looked better in these last couple matches. But It is what it is. Rich says Amorim should be sacked if Shaw ever plays for us again. Yeah, I don't get the thought process behind that, man. But that's why I put that poll in the chat, you guys. What was the bigger issue, Amorim's team selection or the players' shit quality? Batham says you'd have to have Ahmad at wingback for that, and he's been a disaster defensively in the last 2 games. Or a half-dead Dallo. Like, what was Dallo going to do with 5 minutes left of regular time? What is Mainu going to do coming on in the 90th minute? Like, I don't get that at all, man. Danny says, can't expect Harry Maldini to do it every game. It's sad. Yeah, that's our hoof and hope, right? It's just not going to do it. Bach says, why did we buy Dorgu? Well, remember, we've been looking at Dorgu for a while, since long before Amorim got here. We were linked to Dorgu last spring, early last summer. So this was a player that we've been watching for a little while. We're linked to him because he has the mentality and the physicality, these traits that, we're looking to bring in, these young players. He's just another one that's going to have to be developed over the next year or so, similar to when we got Højlund, similar to some of these youngsters. And the problem, that's what I said, like, does he get into this squad? Like, am I confident with him being our go-to option on the left-hand side? No, I'm not. Rich says I'd start a Dallo at right wing back. Not great going forward, but better defensively. Coulda, shoulda, woulda, man. Like, it's freaking annoying, dude. Red Devil says Ahmad not living up. I mean, it was a one-off, and he did just come back from injury recently, so I'm trying to give him a little bit of grace. But again, compared to what we've seen even from the couple matches where he came back and what we know he can do, it was just not a good day. And again, everybody did not have a great day. Bach says, we went from Alfonso or Mendes down to 8 Norries or Kyrkej down to Turku. Yeah, you're not wrong. Dave says he's being burnt out and played way too much, and it's killing his development now. Yeah, we that's the problem, too. When you've got injuries, when you've got a lack of depth, I mean, I thought Amos probably should have been playing more in these last couple of league matches, but it's not my call. It's Amorim's, and again, like I said it about Ten Hag last season, like even these little decisions have like long-term results and impact, and those are the kind of little decisions that start to stack up, and that could, managers live or die by those kind of decisions, and Amorim knows that. But Batham says Dorgu cannot strike a ball cleanly. He's not a good future as a Manchester United player if he can't do that. We'll see. He's been here a couple months, Dorgu, so we're going to give him a little bit of a benefit of a doubt. Like I said, he might benefit from a preseason, just having some of that time. Like, he came in late January, literally late January. It wasn't even like early January. So we waited till like the end of the window to get him. And then he was suspended for like 3 games after that. And then he's still 20 years old. So Rich says, if we're hoping to sell Bruno, Garnacho, Mainu, are you trusting Amorim to spend that money well? I don't think Amorim is the guy in charge of that kind of stuff these days. We know that, managers now are not going to be doing as much of that sort of decision-making at United anymore. That's why we have all these teams. So it is what it is. Amorim doesn't decide the price of players. He doesn't decide the wages of players, just like Ten Hag doesn't. That's for the people who are negotiating to work on. It's for the scouts and the recruitment and the director of football to do. Amorim, I think moving forward, Amorim is going to have input, and he could throw out some names that he likes, but it's not going to be up to him. And so I'm not saying he's off the hook if players are bought in, don't work well, because he's going to have a say, but at the same time, it's not his money. Box, I can see why PSG sold Ugarte, having Neves, Ruiz, Zaire, Emery, Vitinha. He's not on their level. I mean, overall, maybe. I mean, yeah, he's not as good, but I mean, he didn't play yesterday, so I'm not gonna like go in on him for that. Danny says no overlap from it. Yeah, Mizraoui just does not have a great game. Rich says Maz passing was crap. Loads of long crossfield passes under. A lot of those were under hit. Shaw was doing my head, and he was trying to pass these balls to like Garnacho late on, and just all of them were under hit. Garnacho is constantly having to drop 5 or even 10 yards back to get these soft passes from Shaw. It was doing my head in, man. Fucking annoying. Box says Mizraoui came off looking like he ran a London marathon. He can't be that tired, surely. He might. Gina, welcome to the channel, Gina. Sometimes we give our worst when it really matters and our best when it doesn't. That's an irony of football, which even the best go through it. It is an irony of football. I think it's also just a complete indication of just a lack of mentality that these players can't show up for a cup final. They didn't even start the game like they realized they were in a cup final. Like they started the game like it was like this weekend's game against Villa, like it's a dead rubber, no one cares. Like just switched off from minute one. DJ says this lineup was similar to what we have versus Chelsea. Ange must have read, so Amorim not changing things fast enough was really weird. Yeah, it was not great. Bad Time says, to be honest, it wasn't Dorgu's worst performance, but my God, his inability to put a ball in is so annoying. Yeah, I've said that. That's probably my biggest criticism of Dorgu is just his crossing. And I've said it before, and somebody else said it. I forget who said it. Maybe it was Giggs. It could have been Rooney. It could have been Beckham. I can't remember. Somebody who was talking to Rio recently, but like, and it was the same thing I said. Oh, maybe it was Gary Neville. It was on the overlap because it was the same thing I've said. We try too hard, whether it's Garnacho or Dorgu or even Dallo, we try too hard to pick out a player with the cross rather than just put the cross into a dangerous area, if that makes sense. If you try too hard to pick out a player, that cross is usually going to be under hit, like go behind them because you're going to miss them on the movement, or you're just going to try to put it with so much force so you can get it to that player so directly. But when you put that much force behind it, the technique has to be perfect. Or like we saw like from Ahmad in one instance yesterday, that ball is going to get skied because you're hitting it with so much force because you're trying to hit it precisely. But if you're just a little bit off with your angle and of your strike, it's often rosette. And that's the problem. Just put it into a dangerous area and let literally all your teammates who are in that area do their job. Your job is just to deliver it. Your job is to not to put it on a dime. Rich says he swapped Xerxes for McTominay for an impact sub. I think that so I don't know what the plan was for Xerxes yesterday. It's so annoying. DJ says his lineup was similar to that of he picked versus Chelsea, so Ange, who plays a high line, must have studied it. So him not changing things fast. Yeah, I already said. Sorry, I already read that. Box says McTominay gets 40 goals in the championship. McTominay's having a great season, isn't he? Betty says they would be more confident in our under-16s keeper behind them. Yeah, it's really not smart. I'm playing catch up with the chats here, so bear with me here, guys. Bruno was terrible when he did cash in my opinion. He did not have a great match, and he did not look super upset about it either. Box says Dallo was our best threat, to be honest. Last 5 minutes whipped in some good balls. Maybe that's just it. Bring him on for 5 minutes and let him just hoof it, man. Rich says Bruno is either a match winner or a liability. It's funny how how those two things can walk hand in hand, right? Bad Time says Dallo is unfairly criticized for his crossing. He's levels above most of them. Levels above most of the players, and then being good are very, very different, because that's been a big criticism of mine of Dallo since he joined, is he's similar to Rashford and like his decision making in the final third. Like Dallo's been here nearly a decade, and that final ball has not improved on a consistent enough basis. He gets one good now and then, but it's just not good enough. Box says Ahmad's been poor for a while, even before their injury. I would disagree. Personally, I would disagree. Ahmad is probably, aside from Bruno, probably the one player in the squad who's capable of changing things, capable of single-handedly winning a match for us, in my opinion, based on what I've seen this year. You remember when we knocked out Liverpool in that quarterfinal last season, that started with Ahmad just being alert to that, hunting down that ball, winning it off Harvey Elliott, and then going on that run with Garnacho. Like, that was the point. Rich says, if Amorim sees Mount as a player that really gets the system, I think we need to issue the P45. Mount, again, like, to an extent, I can get playing Mount because he's been decent, like, in these last couple matches. But, like, against Chelsea, he was shit. Against Bilbao, he was good. He and Ahmad changed the game against Bilbao. Granted, it was almost a dead rubber at that point anyway. But, I mean, it's hard because it's like you want to play players when they're in good form. But good form in this squad at this moment doesn't necessarily mean you're good, if that makes sense. Bad Time. I wonder if Ahmad getting poleaxed by Richarlison at the end of the first half affecting him wasn't the same afterwards. Should have been subbed. There was one moment that really pissed me off about Ahmad. He like lost the ball or he slipped or something, and he just laid on the ground. Like, not because he got hurt, because he was just that crushed by just losing the ball, and he just laid there on his stomach, just flat. And I'm like, that just really summed up the whole thing yesterday, was that moment. Usman, big up. Good to see you, my friend. I'm sorry it's not under better circumstances. Usman is so pissed. Yeah, we all are, but we're getting it out. We're not quite done yet. We still got one more thought. I'm just trying to catch up to the chats here. Rich says, "Dammy jokes aside, what did Mount do? What is this system?" And that's the question. I mean, we'll let me get caught up on my stuff real quick, and then we'll talk about that because I got thoughts. So let's move on to number 3, and I'm going to come get caught up again here in a second because you guys are, I love it. But number 3, what does the future hold? The big what if heading into this final was all about what it meant for us if we lost. What if we missed out on Champions League football? What if we missed out on that revenue? What if, right? Well, now, what if is the reality of the situation. You have to wonder how the loss is going to impact our summer business and our rebuild overall, our ability to attract players, whatever you want to fill that blank with. Missing out on Champions League football and that revenue, I mean, not only from the lack of the league phase. Remember, it's 8 matches, 4 of which are home. That's a big chunk of change for match day revenue. But you're also going to be missing out on another 10 million from Adidas. Now, Adidas, every year we don't qualify for Champions League, we lose 10 million from that overall, that 90 million Adidas deal. So we're losing that as well. Now, we did get 15.5 million from this tournament as the runner-up. So we rewarded, that was our prize money for being second place on top of the revenue that we've gotten. So, but that's a really shoddy consolation prize, honestly. The problem is with that missed revenue and whatnot for not winning this, we're already struggling to navigate PSR. We barely managed to make ends meet this year. That lost Champions League revenue could really, really hurt us. Again, being able to strengthen the squad. Even with the Champions League cash, there was no way we were going to do as much work as we needed to do in one summer. It just wasn't going to happen. But now, less of that money means this really could set back our rebuild by a year, maybe more. And that's not me saying next year we've been finished. It means in a couple of years we might have been close to being finished. Now we add another year on top of that. Not good. Not a good look when you stop and really think about the players that we have who already aren't good enough, who are already leaving, who need to leave, and just how light clearing out the deadwood's already going to leave the squad right now. Like striker. The talk for the last few weeks has been about how guys like Delap, Gyökeres, how they're reportedly waiting to see if we get Champions League football before making a decision. So what does this mean? Does that mean we miss out? When you're missing out on someone like Liam Delap, who really I don't think is that great, but when you're missing out on someone like that, simply because you don't get Champions League football, when Liam Delap is rejecting you, you know you got problems, man. And the problem is the striker is such a big priority for us because we're not scoring goals. 3 matches now on the bounce where we failed to score. We failed to find the back of the net. How do we fix that if no Champions League football means no top-class striker? It's fucking annoying. Oh, let me see what you guys are saying here. Mark says we still have useless players like Rashford, Malacia, and Sancho coming back. Well, they're coming back, but they're not staying, right? They're going to be gone. Batham says Malacia do all right at PSV. They won the league after Ajax bottle. Yeah, I mean, they won it. I don't think he was playing a whole lot, but that's probably his level, similar to Anthony. I never thought Malacia was good enough, personally. Rich says, useless Rashford, a much better player than half this team, though, Box. No, it's true. It's very true. PSV says they will not buy him. Awesome. Daddy says, I heard good and bad things. Probably won't sign him that time. Oh, yeah. Let's see here. DJ says, Spurs win a trophy with one crappy shot on target. Damn, the more I remember that stat, the more it hurts. Yeah, exactly. Again, they weren't good. We were just that bad on the day, man. That's why literally the thumbnail says we beat ourselves because we didn't show up and we made the same mistakes. We didn't do what we needed to do, and we did everything that we shouldn't have done tactically, and this is what happens. Rich is not defending Rashford, Box, but we've not exactly kicked on without him, have we? Yeah. I mean, it wasn't like Rashford was doing it. Rashford's issue is just mentality. Box, is Rashford bar a purple patch? Yeah, he's just not been great, personally. Bathtime says, Rashford had everything to be a world-class except for a brain and a heart. I think he had his heart. I think he just got burned out at being at United. I think he's just tired of it. Rob says, is the barbecue canceled and Kim Jim get a refund on the burgers? If he sprung for burgers, he might have just grabbed a bunch of sausages or hot dogs, as we call them here. Those are cheaper. Box says, Anthony has impressed, to be fair to him. Yeah, Anthony found his level in La Liga. I think that's a good league for him. Rob says, Mount and Shaw are just a waste of time and space. Mount, like, the injuries are what make me just, if somebody paid us anything for either, just take it and run. I don't care if it's a combined 10 million for those two players, just take it and run. Lucky Singh, big up, says Glazers out fan. Yeah, we are Glazers out on this channel. That is very, very true. Box says, I'd offload Rashford, Anthony, Sancho, Xerxes, Højlund, Mount, Eriksson. Well, I mean, Eriksson's gone for free anyway. Anthony and Sancho will probably be gone. I almost want to guarantee. I want to put money down if Sancho goes back to Dortmund. That would be hilarious. Wouldn't that be funny if like he had agreed to a deal to go to Leverkusen and then Leverkusen end up appointing Ten Hag this summer? That would have been hilarious. Oh, we got here. Bad Time says that was about Connor Bradley. Okay, you guys are having a little chit chat. What is Lucky saying? Højlund, Anthony, Rashford, Lindelof, Shaw. Cannot wait to see out the door. Yeah, I know. You're preaching to the choir, Lucky. Welcome to the channel. Rich says he probably bought one of those cheap disposable barbecues. I'm surprised he didn't just roll through like a McDonald's drive-through or something and just get a bunch of dollar menu items and throw it out there and said, hey, you guys, we're going to cut the burgers into fours and we're going to shove toothpicks in them and put them on a nice platter. We'll put out a nice spread for everybody. That'll look fancy. Whoever gets the pickle is the lucky one. Whoever gets the pickle gets to keep their job. Fucking asshole. So hopefully the chef was Luke Shaw. Oh, gosh, you guys are just going for it. Get it all out, you guys. Get it all out. Lucky says, Rasmus Højlund, a dead duck walking. What does all that mean? Hope you all fans know it. Yeah, Rasmus has had a shit season, just absolute garbage season. Rich says, I wouldn't eat a burger at Jim's Barbecue. It'd probably be 3% meat, 97% filler. Whoever's cooking might get sacked literally mid burger flip. Rich says, Box, you might agree on Ahmad. Yeah. Geez, I would sell Bruno to make a point to the whole squad that no one is safe. The only point you're making if you sell Bruno is that we need the money, honestly. Everybody knows that would, right now, that would be the only reason that we would sell Bruno, because he had a shit game, but you can't say that he's not our best player. The numbers overall since he joined United, just in the league, in Europe, say he's our best player. He's literally second behind only Rayan Cherki in the Europa League this year for goal involvements. He's been one of the top chance creators in the Premier League in Europe overall. His goal contributions, he is a class player. He's just surrounded by shit. That's just plain simple. And then when Bruno doesn't have a good day, we tend to not get a result. We saw last year those like 2 games in his entire United career where he was gone, we just got destroyed. And then when he doesn't show up, but he's the only one who can do it. And that's the problem. We need better players in this squad. We need a bunch of players who are even halfway on the level of Bruno. And I'm not trying to say like Bruno's not at fault, because he had a shit match, but Bruno is not the concern. But right now, it's hard to turn down the money. And we talked about that last week when those rumors first came out. So this isn't just reactionary based on the result. This is just me with my director of football hat on saying, might take that money, bro. Matt Hatter, good to see you. How are you? Says, I'm a United supporter, but I have a soft spot for Spurs. Højlund and Fraudrum should be left in Bilbao. Højlund, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. This is going to be a very important summer. Not only from getting players out, right, but we have to bring players in. So without the money and like lack of funds doesn't change the priorities. We still have the same priorities, the same needs, the same lack of depth in the squad. Lack of money doesn't mean we don't have that. But what does that mean now? Like, do we not get first choice? Do we just get to go look at second, third choice options and all these priority positions until we get back into the Champions League? It's a tough spot in which we find ourselves. Missing out on top targets means we might fail to qualify, but without Champions League football, we might not attract top talent. So when it comes to this rebuild and how seriously Ineos back and believe in Amorim and how long-term they're thinking, how much they want to endure this kind of rough patch, it's going to come down to who Amorim and Ineos rate in that current squad and who's expendable for the sake of profit. You know, Time Sport reported this morning that Amorim is going to have around 100 million this summer, and that's going to be boosted by player sales from guys like Rashford, Anthony, Sancho, whatnot. I would not be shocked, so don't be shocked either if you see someone like Garnacho, Mainu, Dalot, Shaw, Højlund, or even Bruno leave this summer if it means a big, big boost to the transfer budget. Bruno is great. All things being equal, I want him to retire here, but at the same time, 150 million for Bruno spent wisely could be very, very good for us. On top of that other 100 million, like that's hard to turn down. But I wouldn't be surprised to see some of these young players go. And I know players like Bex and Giggsy and Rooney, they don't want to see academy products go. They don't like it. Nobody likes it. It wouldn't be our first choice. But sometimes, A, it's necessary. Sometimes, B, the player wants to leave. And sometimes, C, they're just not good enough. Not every player that comes to the academy is going to be a class of 92. Henderson, Garner, Kambwala, McTominay, I'm not saying they're shit, but these are the kind of players that we end up selling because we need the money. Selling more players this summer, even like Bruno, that could be the difference if the money is well spent between a shit season or trying to get anywhere near top half of the table. Especially Garnacho, who, like, after his brother's Instagram post, is probably first on the chopping block for a lot of people. Did you guys see this shit? I don't know what it is with Garnacho, his family, and social media, but like they just like take it away from him, dude. Like Elon, somebody ban these guys because they're shit. I mean, you can't control what his brother posts, but still not a good look at all. Like his brother's like working as no one else, helping every round, coming from 2 goals, last 2 finals, just to be on the pitch 19 minutes and get thrown under the bus. Wow, ha 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 ha. That's probably the weirdest way I've ever seen anybody spell ha 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 before. Like, where do you get 2 J's? For a second I thought it said hallelujah. Like, what the hell is that shit? And then Garnacho said this after the match. I don't know if you guys saw this. He's speaking to reporters in the mix zone, right? He says, the season was crap. We didn't beat anyone in the league, truly. Until I reached the final, I played every round, helped the team, and to play 20 minutes today, I don't know. I'll enjoy the summer, and then we'll see. Like, why? What is, like, do these players just not understand that this is not a good look for you? Like, I don't get this at all from some of these players. Garnacho, like, I get you're frustrated, and rightfully so. Like, we can say that he probably should have started that match, right? Coming on later on when Spurs had already shut up shop was just not useful for you. But still, like, not a good look, man. Just don't say anything. Like, you don't need to say anything. It's only going to hurt you to say this shit. Like, you don't need to. We're all already thinking what you just said, but your comments don't help. And in fact, they do turn some of this frustration towards you instead of just towards Amorim a little bit. Have you not learned, Garnacho, from the trouble you've been in the last couple of years with social media? Have you not learned from what other people have done, like Sancho and Rashford? Like I said, with Garnacho, it's decision-making, and this is another example of poor decision-making. I do think it's probably safe to say that he might be gone this summer. So, like he says, clear out the squad. I mean, you're not wrong, man. Like, take the Bruno money, take the Rashford money, take Sancho, Anthony, take all the money, and just completely rebuild the squad. I did my summer budget rebuild video last month, and I only needed 130 million or so to bring in 6 quality players, and that was light. That was lightweight. DJ says, I saw a highlight in the stat. There were highlights from you? I didn't think there was any highlights yesterday. Was it just a GIF? Like, it was just blink and you miss it? Is it GIF or is it GIF? I don't think we've ever decided as a society what that is. Someone let me know in the chat. These are the questions that keep me up at night. Nooner lost the ball over 8 times needlessly, and it's not the first time it's been. Like, there's a stat for needlessly losing the ball? Losing the ball is one thing. Like, for a while, the player who lost the ball the most was Messi, because the players who tend to lose the ball more often than not are the players like Bruno, like your Messis, like your De Bruyne's, the players who try to do stuff. Now, Bruno played a lot of shit balls last night, but that's, to me, I read that stat and I'm like, all right, I mean, it's expected is my point. I don't like it, but it's expected because that's what you get from your creative players more often than not. Boxes, I think we'll finish between 15th and 18th next season. We'll definitely finish above Burnley and whoever wins the playoff, but bar that, I'm not really confident. It's all going to depend on the summer. Boxes, Everton, West Ham, Tottenham will all improve, set up better. It's all about, I mean, again, the last decade has, I think people really underestimate just how much the last decade, the last 12 years has cost us, has set us back. There's a reason Liverpool are where they are and we are where we are, is because at roughly the same point, the two clubs took very different approaches to their rebuild. We didn't have a plan. We kept sacking and buying players and sacking and buying players. Liverpool had a plan. They backed Klopp for 4 years without literally winning anything. They were building long-term plans. You could say the same thing about Arsenal, but they're just like, they're shit. They're not doing anything. Like they all Arteta has done is taken Arsenal from thinking top 4 was a trophy to thinking second place was a trophy. Arsenal fans, come at me. Don't care. Box says Delap rejected us. Well, remember, the reports were that he wants Champions League football. But Rich says, our wage bill to turnover is really low. Don't believe the liars running the club. Money is there. They're actively taking money out of the club. The Glazers might be sneaking it, but Sir Jim has put in a lot of money so far. I think he's just trying to stop just the bleeding of money, the unnecessary excess spending of money and the loss of money. But it's difficult to know what goes on entirely behind the scenes. But we know what we do know. What is academic is what the Glazers have done. Matt Hatter says maybe Højlund needs to drop down the championship. I don't think Højlund can hang in English football, honestly, at this point. I think that Højlund, if he were at Højlund, it's just Højlund's, he's big, he's a unit, but he's not a Giroud. He's not a hold-up player like that. Højlund is a runner. He's a Vardy. That's the way he's going to play. Rich says, why would a player want to play under Amorim, though? I mean, Amorim is going to get a lot of hate today. It's expected. You'd ask me, what would be the reasons that a player would want to play for Amorim? I mean, again, Manchester United is always going to have a level of appeal because it's Manchester United. That's just the way it is. Amorim, some players do rate Amorim. Some players do like Amorim. So it's just... And then, maybe it's just a matter of wages. I couldn't tell you. Rich says, is Amorim's style making Rasmus look work? You guys remember in the channel when those January, February... I do think that the tactics made Højlund look worse than he actually is. Because, again, you couldn't argue with what Højlund did last year, which was his first season at United as a 20/21-year-old. But playing it to Højlund, asking him to be this hold-up striker as a 21, now 22, this just in early February, against, age, experience, big, strong Premier League defenders was just the worst thing possible to do. It didn't help that he's our only striker, but it's just, maybe it is the system. Maybe the system, because it favors possession, because it is a little bit more patient, slow, possession based, and not as counterattacking. Yeah, you might not get the best out of some of these players, like Rashford, like Højlund, like Garnacho. But that's up to Ineos to decide. They knew going into this when they appointed Amorim that this was going to be the case, and they backed him by getting rid of Rashford and Antony and whatnot. But again, they have backed him. They're going to have to continue, though, and that's up to Ineos to decide if they trust him enough. Like he says, I am open showing refresh project with John Plier, Angel Gomez. Tell them this season was gone. Barbecue for staying up. Ugh. Nope. Yeah, Danny agrees. He doesn't play to his so-called strengths. But that's the thing. If Højlund is shit, as everyone says, why would you play to his strengths? Why wouldn't you rather play to the strengths of the other players in the squad? If you play to the strength of a shit player, then everyone's gonna suffer. Højlund's issue is that he's our only striker. He's young. He's not developing. And again, coaching does play a role. Tactics do play a role. Is he working with anybody outside of these matches? Is he working on his own? Is he taking it upon himself as an individual player, as an adult, to go try to boost? Cheeto was doing that when he was in the academy. He was working one-on-one outside coaching to do this. But Rob says, we didn't replace Rashford or Antony in January. That's not an Amorim. Let's us blunt up front. I mean, we were already kind of blunt with those guys here, weren't we, though? Relegation fight next season, says Rich. You guys are on one today, and I'm here for it. Like he says, if you can't control football, play next striker, you're shit. Hoyland's touch, his control is just not great. It doesn't take much though to throw a striker to throw off their touch though when they're playing with their back to goal and they're trying to receive a long ball, they're trying to receive a really hard, like strongly hit ball. It doesn't take much as a defender to throw them off. All it takes is a little nudge, and that striker can't cushion that ball anymore. Now you're pushing the striker to the ball, even if it's just a couple inches. But that sometimes is the difference between controlling the ball and the ball just bouncing off of you. So it's a combination of tactics. It's a combination of Højlund engaging and falling for that trap, but also the tactics not playing the ball into the channels and playing to him as this hold-up man, which again, like we've said, is just not his game. Might be the comment of the stream so far. Running a barbecue is the only way Luke Shaw cooks. If I could get 22, 23 Luke Shaw back, we'd have a totally different system. He's just, those injuries, your body can only take the injuries so long before it just starts to not recover. That's just the way it is. And I think that Shaw is just going down that route. I think Mount's probably going to be another one that goes down that route. We saw it with Varane a little bit. Varane barely played 24 games. Even in his last couple of seasons at Madrid, he just wasn't getting all the games because his body just couldn't do it anymore. This is what happens when you're injury prone. It takes you longer to recover. Your body's just going to have permanent rust, and then you're going to start picking up extra injuries. I worry about Lisandro Martinez as well. Are we going to start seeing that from him too? You guys are going for it. I'm trying to make sure I get through all these chats here. Rob says, are the links between Onana and Neom legit? I hope so. We saw those a little recently, right? That Saudi club, I think. I would love it. We did that poll the other day, with Emi Martinez available on a free. Would you take that for a couple of years and then worry about goalkeeper in like 2 or 3 years? Take Emi Martinez on a free. Now, I don't think Emi Martinez is as good as a lot of people say he is, but he's definitely not as bad as Onana, but that's a very low bar right now. Rich says, short-term maybe raid Premier League clubs, Cunha and Mbeumo. Mbeumo is going to cost a fortune. If you get Mbeumo and Cunha, you're already looking at like 120, 130 million. That's like one Bruno. Lucky says, sell Bruno. Yeah, you guys are probably way behind me right now. Box says, I doubt we spend wisely. Yeah. Mad Hatter says, has United ever tried Garnacho in the 9? That was my pick yesterday, or in the preview the day before, or Monday, was I had Mount Bruno behind Garnacho to try to exploit that space, because Mount has a lot of movement. Garnacho is going to make runs, and if you get Ugarte and Casemiro in the pivot to find Bruno, and then Bruno can then find Mount, find Garnacho on these runs, get Ahmad in these advanced positions, I thought we might have had a better chance, but it is what it is now. Danny says, we're stupid if we don't accept the 85 million plus offer for Bruno. Yeah, we would be foolish to not do that, personally. Rich says he's probably gone. Yeah. I am way behind you guys, aren't I? I got to go all the way down here. Might have to skip a couple of it just to keep us on target with you guys. So let me catch up here. Mad Hatter says, what infuriates me about Amorim is his inflexibility. Should have set the team up differently and then implement his style of play in the summer off season. I think yes and no, right? And I'm not saying you're right or wrong. I'm saying this is my thought. Yes and no. I think like Ange did yesterday, in one-off games, yes, it's fine, in my opinion, to do this. You can go full Jose in these one-off games. I don't have a problem with it. Like, I really don't. But yesterday, I think the team selection and then the combination of the poor quality of the players on the day it just made this perfect storm of just shit on the pitch, and we didn't get back from it. It is what it is. Wild Dead Wolf, I like it. Welcome to the channel. Says the bench was better than the field team against Tottenham. Yeah, it was not. Not starting Ugarte, starting Shaw, playing Shaw for the 90 minutes, not starting our Garnacho when you knew Spurs were probably going to start with a high line was definitely the wrong choice, in my opinion. Sounds like you might agree. Kai, welcome back, man. Would you sell Manu and Bruno? Bruno was getting older, and I see Manu as a Pogba 2.0. Too much trouble, but good player. Manu, he's not bad. I just struggle to see where he fits in this system if he doesn't develop a little bit more physically, because he's not super fast. He's not very defensive. And so maybe the 10 might be his better role. But again, is that where he wants to play? Again, this is where you come down to it. Do you play the system? Do you try to go through this to play the system, in which we know Amorim said he's going to do? We're going to suffer. We're going to be in the same position this year if he changes his tactics. He said recently, like, I believe in my thing. I'm not going to change. But we've all criticized that before. We've criticized Ten Hag for changing his system to suit the players. And so we don't get to have it both ways. Of course, recency will let you know whether or not it was the right call. But the players have been getting away for too long with putting out shit on the pitch. We can't keep letting them get away. We can't keep catering to them. What we got here? Wild Zed says, should have never bought Mount. Yeah, we probably shouldn't have. Really shouldn't have. Robert Reed, welcome back. Martinez is good enough. Sorry. Yeah, I think Leach is good. He's probably the way we build out from the back, both under Ten Hag and under Amorim, he's probably the best defender we have. And he was in a really good run of form until he picked up that ACL injury. The problem with Leach now are the injuries just stacking up? Did that first long-term injury and now this ACL injury, is that going to be too much? Luke Shaw has not been the same since the leg break. Is it going to be the same with Leach? Because that's sometimes what's going to happen. The most recent one is probably the more worrying of all the injuries, because the other injuries, the knee from last season and then the foot stuff, those were contact injuries. The ACL stuff, no contact injury. It was just running. It wasn't even like sprinting, just running and pulls up, and that's just not a good look. And this is why, though, I've said, like, we need a left-sided defender to replace him for the time being. That's why I wanted to go get Bashali on a free, for instance. He's 26, 27 at Eindhoven, available on a free, left-sided, really good defender. Seems a no-brainer to me. Wild Dead should have brought Madison, not Mount. I mean, Madison wasn't fit either. I mean, I haven't compared their injury records, both Madison and Mount, but I don't really rate either of them, to be honest. If I'm being totally honest, I don't rate Madison or Mount, but beggars can't be choosers these days. Bach says, Emi Martinez has started to let mistakes creep into his game this last year. Yeah, that's what I said the other day when we did that news show is, while I never thought he was as good. I'm here for the shithousery. I don't mind the shithousery, but I never thought he was as good. And then, yeah, I said, like, this year especially, he's definitely declined a bit. Definitely has, but you're absolutely right. DJ says, Emi Martinez is a bully. Desperately need that in the team now. Canceling that type arrogance. I'm here for the shithousery. You guys know that. Lucky says, Angel Gomez free. Yeah, we've talked about that a couple times on this channel. The opportunity maybe bringing him back for free. I know he's been linked to, like, Spurs as well. Wildest says there's like 275 players on a free in Spain out of contract. There's nothing wrong with shopping in the free agency. You guys know I've done several streams talking about people who are going to be free agents and whatnot. There are a lot of Jonathan David, Olivier Bashali, Angel Gomez. Then you've got players with low release clauses. Joan Garcia, Frimpong, who's probably going to Liverpool. There are opportunities out there. That's a big part of my rebuild video is you don't have to spend to build, if that makes sense. Robert says, Amorim is not inflexible. Maguire leading the line. Wild Dead Wolf says, sub from the UK. Glad following new legend. Do big up yourself, Wild Dead. We're glad to have you. We love getting new faces in here. I love the new subs, man. You guys, yeah, keep hitting that like button. Keep subscribing. We're not even close to being done yet, but we are on that road to 3K. So big up, you guys. I'm glad to see the community growing. Lucky says, I am with manager. Good. Ineos wants to stay. Yeah, Ineos probably are going to back him, but he's got to start next season well. He really does. Kai says, I would sell Leach too. Sadly, he's like Shaw. Yeah. If Leach picks up another injury, it might be his career might be done. He might have to go to a less physically demanding league to not to put so much strain on his body at that point. And then honest to God, I was just thinking about this yesterday. I would not be surprised to see Ineos spend big on Branthwaite this summer because we know that they like Branthwaite. Don't be shocked if that happens. Capo says, what's funny is I had a feeling we'd lose. However, the game was not properly managed by Amorim. Garnacho should have been substituted in earlier. Zraoui is not an offensive wingback. he's definitely not comfortable with that. I mean, he's had his moments, Mazraoui, but you could, like, it's not when you look at him, it's not like you look at him and like, yeah, he's an attacking fullback. Like, that's not like what first comes into your mind, right? Matt Hatter says the only thing looking for next season is the new Unitas kids. They're going retro with the 06, 07 styles. Yeah, I do. It's sad that that's what we're looking forward to. Right? It's just sad. That white one slaps. I like that one. I'm really eager to see what this black one looks like. If the home one looks, what I really would like to see from the home one is if the collar, like, I don't know if you guys saw Bayern's away kit. If the collar looks like, if our home collar for the home strip next year looks like the away collar for Bayern's, that is going to be awesome. I'm going to love that. And I don't give the club my money. I'll get it someplace else, but I will definitely buy that. Lucky is back in that manager. Compose View says, I think Amorim's days might be numbered because I really don't see how this system is going to work, given how open our midfield usually is. Yeah, that is a big question. What if the system doesn't work? What if the system or Amorim just aren't up for it? That's a question. And then the question becomes, how long do you wait before making that decision? They didn't wait very long with Ten Hag. They didn't wait long with Ashworth. So they've shown that they're ready to make the decision early if they need to. But Rob says, we like Luis Diaz, we like Marcus Rashford, and we like other players. Deco told Catalan Radio. Good. Rashford can go. Diaz, I mean, I don't care about Diaz. He's not a United player. Box says Barca will be looking in the discount aisles. Yeah, Barcelona need money. I think Madrid aren't going to be as flush as they usually are either. Like he says, Rashford, we're open to selling in Barcelona, Villa. Yeah, Rashford, I think Barcelona is probably Rashford's dream destination. I just don't know if they're going to be able to spend him. And he's not going to get in that squad ahead of Yamal and Rafinha if Rafinha stays. So he can go there and just warm the bench, though, if that's what he wants. Glazers need to show step upgrade ground, says Well Did Wolf. We have a chance to move up table. No European football next year. Well, that brings us to some of our next points here. If that's as we're going to move on. So we talked. So just finishing back up with like the Garnacho. Like, so it's probably safe to say Garnacho's going to be gone this summer. I want to know what you guys think about this about Bruno though, because Bruno had some post match comments that were very interesting. He says, "I will be here until the club says to me that it's time to go. The club think it's time to part ways because they want to cash in or whatever. It's what it is. And football is sometimes like this." Very, very similar to some comments from Amorim that we're going to be talking about here in a second from Bruno there. Just this is the first time he's kind of made a mention of stuff like that. And like I said, when you take those comments and then the juxtaposition of how just not as upset. Like, I'm not saying he didn't care because he cares, but like, look at the photos from that 2021 final when we lost that one, and Bruno's literally in tears versus this one where he just looks completely numb. And I wonder where his head's at right now. At the moment, I'm hard pressed to believe that we're going to be lucky enough to avoid relegation next season if things don't improve on and off the pitch. Not just talking about squad overhaul. I'm talking about just the PR, the optics, the things that Ineos are doing off the pitch as well. That has to improve. Sir Jim may have, in fact, bought a lemon. The rot might be way too deep for this to be a simple task. But if he's serious about his ownership and about backing Amorim for the long term, we have to have a near perfect window. We need players who are consistent, who are physical, who are mentally strong, because that's just been absent from this squad for years. New players are going to help, but our prospects in that market just took a hit. Missing out on Champions League shouldn't mean missing out on priority targets. Getting Champions League football should have only meant maybe bonus players as well. But I'm not Ineos, and it's not my money. How much credence do you give to the notion that no Champions League football could be better for us in the rebuild, though? That's the other side of this coin. Someone said maybe, not being in Europe could not be a distraction, could not be as physically demanding. Maybe it allows us more time to train, implement the system, focus on the league form, getting back up the table. Chelsea finished 10th in the 15-16 season. Remember when Leicester won? And then they won the league the following year with Antonio Conte. No Champions League and a strong summer could see the league form improve. And I might be able to embrace that possibility in time. But for right now, I'm fuming still. But I wanted to get your thoughts on that notion, because it's not, a lot of people are talking about that, like whether you think we deserve it, whether you think that it's better for us not to for a season so we can actually kind of take our breath and rebuild. It's anyone's interpretation there. Teresa, big up, welcome back. The question no one seems to be asking is, if they were unbeaten in Europe, why then did they lose in the final? Was it because it was an English team, or do they have a brain freeze? Probably a bit of both. Like Bach says, I think that they're connected. I don't think it's one or the other being both. I think they're connected. I think that, again, like I said, you can be the worst Premier League side and probably still be more physical than a good European side. But the moment we play a European side, or a Premier League side in the final, they're going to be more physical than us, because we're like the least physical team in the Premier League this season. And you saw it even a little bit when we played Rangers. They were definitely a little bit more physically up for it. We struggle. So I do think it's a little bit of both. Wild Dead Wolf says, Garnacho chat, how much is he worth knowing United need to sell? Anything we're going to get for Garnacho is almost going to be profit. He didn't come through as a youngster. We bought him from Atletico Madrid, so it's not going to be all profit. But it's still, we're going to make money on Garnacho. It just depends on how much another club is willing to worth, and whether or not we stick to our guns. Is it just like a Rashford thing where it's just like, let's get him out of here, he doesn't want to be here? Or is it just like, we don't want to sell him, but we'd be open to it kind of thing? Selling one player like that for a lot means we might not have to sell other players, but there are a lot of players who need to go. Box says, maybe the club have said to Fernandez privately, you will be sold. Maybe. He could. It's the body language, the statements from him are just weird. They just struck me as odd. Wildless says he's going to be another Sancho, 65 to 30. Yeah, maybe. Matt Hatter says, I only sell Garnacho for nothing less than 68 million. That's a very specific number. And you put dollars in there. Are you American? It's not, more often I don't see the dollar sign in there unless it's, the English media, and they want to make that number as high as possible when they talk about how much we spend on somebody. Teresa says, Garnacho was self-entitled. He knew exactly what he did. His pal Rashford did the same crap. Yeah. And Garnacho's brother did not help either. I thought that was messed up. Lucky Sin's throwing out all his targets. He's got so many of them. Big up, man. This says, I just devalued players. Rashford 2 years ago, maybe 120 million now. Buyers just loans. Yeah. Same with Pogba. I don't hate on Pogba like a lot of people do, but we should have sold Pogba after France won that 2018 World Cup. He was literally the highest value we were going to have. And it was clear even by that point that he wasn't too happy to be here. We could have gotten, we would have made money on Pogba had we sold him after that 2018 World Cup. And it's just, Sir Alex used to say it too. If somebody offers you over like more than what a player's value is, you have to consider it. And it's just smart business. Because in the good hands, that money can go a long way. Box thinks we'll be bottom by November and Amorim will be sacked. If we're bottom 3 by November and we haven't replaced a lot of the dead wood in the squad, I will worry about relegation, because this squad as it stands right now does not have the resilience to pull themselves out of that. They just don't. They'll collapse. Composed View says, Bruno was not good yesterday. He has now lost 2 European finals as captain. Yeah, he has. I'm not like Roy Keane and say like that's his fault. Like, just like a manager, like people I think don't understand fully what a manager's role is. I think people expect too much from captains. Like, what is Bruno going to do? Like, he's not holding a controller and like controlling his teammates. But again, with the ball at his feet yesterday, Bruno did not have a good game at all. Wild Dead can't wait to play Leeds. Right now, I wouldn't back us to beat anybody. I don't know. You could list a lot of teams right now, even teams down in like league. Like Wrexham showed up tomorrow at Old Trafford. I don't know if we'd win. I really don't. Like Sin says, Visa at Brentford. Yeah, I like Visa. Visa's having a good season. Matt Hatter says, Garnacho's Twitter fingers may be a deterrent to some clubs, but he will get you goals in a lesser league. He will get you goals in a different system. And maybe if he goes to like La Liga, kind of like how Anthony's doing, it's just in this system it's kind of like Pep. Pep's system is not this counterattacking system. So a lot of these players just, when they're forced to slow down, that's really going to separate the technical players, the decision-making players from the players like Rashford who just, I want to run, I want to shoot, Garnacho is very similar to Rashford in that regard. When you're forced to slow down, sometimes that is harder for a player. Kai says, I like Garnacho, but I feel he's going to be like Rashford and Sancho. Sadly, another one that we're going to sell. We just don't ever seem to get things right. The stars just don't seem to align for us at the same time, do they? We just don't. It's like supporting the U.S. men's national team. Like, we've gone in phases over like the last decade where we've had a few good players and then like a bunch of crap players and then some young players. We never really seem to have a full like squad in the U.S. men's national team of good players at the same time. It's always like everyone's missing each other by a generation or so. And it's like that at United. We just can't get it right. Now, a lot of that, again, last 12 years, it just has been piss poor from an ownership and a recruitment standpoint. But it's just, again, that impacts on the pitch as well, right? Oh, Teresa says, I find it revolting that the English language has lost its meaning. These pundits are full of shit. And yes, most of those players are not good enough for you now. Yeah, the English media is just garbage. You guys know that. Wow, Deadwood says, United sounds like a bank. Just do loans, weird. Well, depending on how you structure those loans, it could work out for you or it could not. We got bonuses last season, I think, from Sancho when Dortmund got all the way to the final, so we did get more money from that. We're loaning out some of these players, or selling some of these players even. We got sell-on clauses, buyback clauses, bonuses, this and that. Like, if you structure the loan well, it's not bad. That's the point of the loan. It's just sad that we've had to do it with so many of these players because they didn't work out, like Antony and Rashford and whatnot, like in Malacia. Just that's the shit part right there, and it doesn't look good on Ten Hag that guys like Antony and Malacia we've had them loan out because they're just shit. So, oh, Matt says, "Yup, American here. All right, good up, big up, man." Oh, Wild Dead Wolf says, your thoughts on Roy Keane's comments on LFC on Liverpool? I don't know, what did he say about their youth. If it has to do with Liverpool, odds are I haven't heard it because I just goes in one ear and out the other when it's Liverpool related. So you have to let me know because I don't know what you're talking about there. Teresa says, those players who commented after the game, finally they're taking responsibility. Cool, but it's too little too late, right? You take responsibility. It's apologizing after the fact, especially when you have to do it so much. Like, one mistake is a mistake. Multiple mistakes, like the same mistake, that's a choice. And the players are literally choosing to be content with just this lackluster performances week in, week out. And I have a problem with that. I really do. Wild Dead says, United need to be smart, watch Brighton Palace. I think we need to look, whoever's in charge of Brighton's recruitment, we should have taken them because or Benfica. Whoever's in charge of Benfica's recruitment, director of football, poach them right now. Replace Ashworth with those people. DJ says, Amorim's comments of Garnacho was unwarranted too, like picking fights with Garnacho. It will lead to Toby Collier, Mainu. Oh, I forgot about Collier. So on toxic dressing room. Yeah, I didn't agree with Amorim kind of singling out Garnacho a little bit. I think it was more about praising Mount than singling out Garnacho. But again, the press are the ones that brought up Garnacho. It's not like Amorim just vomited all that about there. Like, the press asked him about starting Mount instead of Garnacho, and Amorim was basically using the parameters of that conversation and the people that were brought up to explain his decision. So I get what you're saying. I don't necessarily think it was just Amorim kind of throwing under the bus like some managers do. I think it was just kind of like Ten Hag with the Sancho. He was responding to a direct direct question. So Wild Dead Wolf says, what's happening to us happened at Liverpool. We need new owners and believe. Yeah, Liverpool just went about their rebuild just in the right way, and we just haven't, and we're struggling to recover from that, unfortunately. Bach says, you need Landon Donovan and Clint Dempsey. Man, that 2014 World Cup was fun. I had fun watching that. Dempsey scoring with his Johnson was pretty awesome, but Danny would sack him, Box. Sack Amorim now. Interesting. Lucky Singh says, Ineos, glad with manager regardless whether we win or lose. I mean, to an extent you have to. They brought him in. They gave him an ultimatum, and they knew that his system was the complete opposite. Remember, Liverpool met with Amorim. The reason they didn't hire Amorim is because they knew that because his system was so different, it was going to take a long time, and they didn't want to wait that long. Ineos knew that as well, gave him an ultimatum, made him join midseason. He didn't want to join midseason, Amorim. He wanted to wait to the summer because he knew this was going to happen. This shit. I don't think he thought it was going to be this bad, but he knew he was going to struggle because he didn't get his players, no preseason, no training, no transfer windows. It is what it is. I don't think any of us thought it would be this bad, though. And to be honest, it really shouldn't have. And Amorim's got a lot to answer for there. Teresa says these players are garbage. They don't change the questions. They on auto repeat all the media. And by doing so, they're destroying Amorim's reputation. Yeah, I mean, the media, you always take what you read in the media with a grain of salt. They do. I did not like Henry Winter posting yesterday in the morning some negativity. I didn't like Mark Ogden posting earlier in this week a bunch of negativity about Amorim wanting to leave in January. Sorry, it's so dry in here. Throat's starting to get sore. So, but yeah, the media, it's not just about what they say in the media, it's about when they choose to say it. And all the negativity coming out this week from just the typical idiots like Mark Ogden. Henry Winter can do one, by the way. Waiting to the day of a final to post this negative bullshit is such a classless move. Like, this is why I've said it how many times. I might make a t-shirt that says this. Like, so much money is wasted on journalism degrees in the UK. These guys are shit. And the reason why, and I've said this many times too, is because big YouTube channels have become so popular and so much more just engaging and credible even, that the old media, the Skies, the writers, even like the Ogdens, whatnot, they're having to resort to these absolute nonsense takes, these controversial comments, just to get any sort of interest and engagement. They would rather get negative engagement because it just means engagement. And that's a problem. You're not going to see a whole lot of these guys left in a little while. Matt Hatter says, taking accountability. Finally, is the board playing for summer vacations? Yeah, it's too little too late. Apologies mean fuck all after the fact, in my opinion. It is what it is. Garnacho says, it was Garnacho's statement saying he doesn't play me. Yeah. Lucky says, Bruno statement, some of his players have other priorities other than Man United. Some of them do. And you didn't used to see that back in the olden days, right? This was your priority. This is your job. This is what you're supposed to be. Not like clothing brands or making your own logo and shit. None of that. Like, that's enough. I don't care about your brand anymore. DJ says, now we watch how Madrid back in a 3-4-3. Xabi Alonso, unless he changes it. Yeah, and I was telling Justin this yesterday. Like, it's going to be interesting to see what Real Madrid do because Xabi Alonso plays a very different system. Does he stick with it or not? And that'll be interesting to see how much the press go in on him if he changes things. Like, is he going to be called abandoning his principles, or are they going to say, like, oh, he's so brave for sticking to his guns? Wildez says, okay, what system has United played the last 7 years? I never know. Well, we've gone through about 4 or 5 managers in the last 7 years, so you'd be hard pressed to figure that one out. But I definitely get your point there. Wildez says Luke Shaw needs to be if he's done nothing apart from getting rubbed down in the lounge area. Composed View says the formation isn't a problem. The system isn't always what the formation is. Some managers start out in one formation, end up playing a 3-4-3 on offense, a 5-4-1 or 4-4-2 on defense. Our midfield 0, yeah. And I think that with better players who are physical, strong mentality, resilient players, you could put them in basically any system and they'll do just fine. Doesn't always make a difference. So let's look at what Amorim had to say after this one. Keep getting your thoughts in. So Amorim was asked after the match, journalist, I forget who it was. They said, Ruben, you said you weren't sure if United were better off in the Champions League or without the Champions League next season. Now you're not in the Champions League. What impact will that have on you, the players, the club, the whole bigger picture for the club moving forward next season? This is why we're on the subject of, what this means for us. Amorim said this: we have 2 plans, even for the market, and we need to understand it's tough for a club like ours not to be in Champions League, but we have to use the other side. If we have more time, we have more time to think, to work during the week, and to be better in the Premier League. That will be our focus. So basically 2 plans for the window, depending on whether or not we won that final. And he's saying right now, he's even saying, like, part of the plan was if we lost, this is how we're kind of approaching things. Part of the plan was if we won, this is how we're going to approach things. So I hope the plan I hope plan A was more players if you won. And I hope that plan B doesn't mean a shit rebuild, because that would just be counterproductive altogether. Like, it just is. He was also quite frank, Amorim, in his response to the notion that the loss yesterday was a failure from both him and Ineos. And this is what he had to say. He said, if the board and the fans feel I'm not the right guy, I will go the next day without any conversation about compensation. I will not change. I will change nothing in the way I do things. I will continue to do things the way I know. So again, really backing himself, really sticking to his guns. What do you guys think about that? And what Amorim had to say after that one? Because it's not he said this many times. I don't have a problem with it, right? You want your manager to back themselves, but again, the question is does it work or does it not work? Like, what does it work? Wildez says, good points, Euro. Alonso likes him. Delit, good. Harry stays. Rob says, hit those like and subscribe buttons. Yeah, big up, man. Make sure you're hitting the like button, subscribing. We're on the road to 3K. Very long show today, but we had a lot to talk about. Obviously, we all have a lot of thoughts. I'm not even done yet. I still got a few more slides to get through. Like he says, it doesn't matter. 3-5-2, all players have adapt, learn, play different systems. Yeah, exactly. Good players can do that. This is why you don't necessarily bias. Like, this was always my hesitancy with guys like Mourinho and Conte, because they're gonna want the older players who are gonna be here for 1 or 2 years because they need them for the short term. Like, yes, you can plan for the short term, but you also have to think about the long term as well. And that's a hard dichotomy to navigate as a manager, as a director of football, as an owner. It's difficult. So I see both sides when it comes to buying for a system and not, but I think that if you prioritize certain traits in a player, i.e. the physicality, the technicality, the technical skill, the mentality as well, the attitude, if you prioritize those sort of intangibles, not just, hey, do they play as the wingback or not? I think that these players are going to be better on a foundational level, and they'll adapt to any system, like you're saying, Lucky. So big up. Wow, this says, so manager wants to play wingers. Okay, so Frimpong, perfect. Kirkage, same total, 80 million gone. Yeah, I mean, again, at the end of the day, the players got to want to join you as well. But I worry. I do like Kirkage. I worry that Dorgu is not good enough right now to be the starter on that left-hand side. But again, if that's the case, then all that means is we got to buy another player. It's just, it never stops, man. It's like a house project. I can't do one project without revealing 3 other projects I have to do before I do the one project that I started doing. It's fucking annoying, man. Box says, activate the levers. Activate the levers. Let's host the weddings. Let's host the bar mitzvahs. Let's host the concerts. What's Lady Gaga doing? Come play Old Trafford. Get it done. Teresa says, in my opinion, it appears that Leicester League has more brains than the Premier League. They understand 3-4-3 system in 2 matches. United players should be ashamed indeed. Yeah, and that's a question. Is it the players? Is Amorim just not doing a good job? Oliver Glasner came in, very similar system. Wolves' new manager came in this season, very similar system. Why are they getting better results? I mean, Wolves are still shit, but they've beaten us twice. Palace the same. UK Darren fan, big up. Bottlers FC, yeah, absolutely. You know, we were going to carry the bottle job trophy for a little while. Arsenal passed it like a baton in a relay race. Danny B says, let him walk. Yeah. I mean, many of us are already done with like a fair few of the players in the squad. But I have to say, Amorim is on very thin ice. 6 wins in nearly 30 league matches is an absolute disgrace. Going undefeated in Europa League and then lifting the Europa League trophy would have taken a tiny little iota of a sting out of the league form, but we didn't win, so it doesn't matter. If it doesn't improve next season, does that mean the system just doesn't work? Does that mean Amorim is just not good enough? Does that mean it's time for another rebuild? Maybe, I think part of it too is maybe the Premier League has, in general, has returned to this place of like 20 years ago, where maybe the focus now is more on the physical side of things. How many teams right now are in the top like 7 or 8 places are there because they are physical? Like, who expected Forest to be back up there? Who expected Newcastle to be back up there for this long? It's because those teams on paper, it's not like they're better than like Man City or even us on paper in many regards, but the players are just more physical. They're just more up for it on the day. Maybe Premier League football is down to that place, and maybe that's why your more tactical managers like Pep, like Amorim, why they're struggling, because football in general in Premier League has kind of shifted again, and their systems just maybe aren't as effective anymore. Maybe the technical stuff in the possession base is just not going to do it anymore, and we've kind of missed the boat in that regard. I wonder if you brought Ollie back for a hot second and just let him play that intense, high-paced counter-attack football, if he would do better. I'm not saying sack Amorim. I'm looking at it more from just the physicality in the Premier League right now and how it's getting these lesser teams, no offense, to the positions that they're in. Because I'm not saying sack him necessarily, but if we have a rocky start next season after some of the decisions he's made, guys letting go of Rashford, Antony, and the shit league form and match performances, if all that continues after all these decisions and he's been backed, he has to go. The writing is going to be on the wall. You can call it harsh, and you can say that managers need more time, they need players for these systems, but they also have to find a way to get the most from the squad that they have. Sometimes that does mean making sacrifices to your pride, whatever. I get it. There's a balance there. I'm not saying he needs to completely abandon things, but we did that New Year's resolutions video. Like, play faster, take advantage of counterattacks a little bit more. Don't persist with players who we know are shit. Like, these are simple little things that don't require you to abandon your principles, but can just put you in a better position to get a result and get something more out of your players. So there's a fine line between the system and playing based on the players you have, right? I think Amorim just didn't navigate that line very well this season. But again, he's got to get more, because Ineos have, like I said, they've wasted no time in sacking Ten Hag. When they came in, they backed him in the summer. They gave him another contract extension. They wasted no time in turning right around and correcting that decision. They did the same thing with Dan Ashworth. That should be a warning sign for Amorim, despite what he says about I'll walk. Like, the choice might be taken away from him. He said he wouldn't ask for compensation either, so Ineos do have a bit of a free hit there, so he better hope it works. He's basically given them an out publicly that they don't have to pay him. Composed View says, meaning a Delap over Gyökeres, no Ederson, probably no goalkeeper, subpar rebuild. Yeah, this summer's going to tell us a lot. We're going to have to wait and see. We still have PSR that we have to navigate. Again, it's not about how, I think it was Rich who said it, it's not about how much money Ineos have. PSR doesn't matter. You could be a cajillionaire or you could be the poorest owner. PSR limits how much you can spend compared to how much that you make, how much you bring in. Does not matter how much. The Qatari guy, he could literally own the club right now. It doesn't matter how much money he's got in his pocket. PSR means it goes by transfers and stuff. That limits how much you can spend, not how much money you have as an owner personally. But we'll see what happens. Like, for now, I don't want to hear any more post-match interviews. I don't want to hear any more fucking apologies from these players. What I really, really want right now is for these players to go straight back to Carrington, sit down in front of a TV, and I want them to look at all the faces from all the fans in the crowd during this final yesterday. I want to look at all the faces, all these kids, all these disappointed adults who are just crying, angry, frustrated, completely just dejected in every sense of the term. I want them to be forced to look at all those clips, all the screenshots, all the videos, put together a little montage, and make the players sit down, watch it, and basically, think about what you just did. Make them share in that moment. Make them talk about what is going through your head right now as you watch this. Like, how does this make you feel watching this right now? I want you to feel that with these fans right now. Make them see and feel the impact that the shit performance from yesterday has done to these people, and make them carry that feeling with them all summer long, because it's unacceptable. I'm going to be honest, I don't even want to do a season award show this summer like we did last year, because it was absolute shit. What awards are we going to give this season? If it's something you really want to do, we'll do it. You guys can let me know, but I don't want to do an award show. The same reason I don't want anybody in the first team to win an award. Fuck the Matt Busby Player of the Year. Nobody deserves that. I don't care if they cancel the awards dinner. Cancel the barbecue as well. Nobody deserves anything. Pack it up. Bring it on home, man, because nobody deserves anything. Players, how many times have we said it? Fix up or fuck off. Simple as. We will do a player/manager rating show because, or maybe that'll be super short. I might just do like a 15-second short. Just give everyone an F and call it a day, right? But it's fucking annoying, man. Box thinks Amorim should probably talk less. Probably. he doesn't like giving all these interviews. We did that breakdown last week when it came out of just how much interviews he's done since he's been here, and it's staggering the amount of interviews he's had to give. It's ridiculous. Teresa says, what was he supposed to say, Sean? He's been listening to crap for the last 6 months. Who? Name names. I don't. You might be delayed from when I read your comment to when I said something, so I need specifics sometimes. Matt Hatter says, pay me $20K a week and I'll adapt to any system. No excuse for these players. Pay me. Yeah, that's ridiculous, man. UK Dare fan says, Spurs are so poor, but we couldn't beat them. Yeah, no, it's true, man. They weren't good. We were just that bad. Lucky Singh says, doesn't matter. Players have to learn to adapt to system. Yeah, it's true. It's true. Box says, Amorim doesn't have to reveal everything to the media. I don't think Amorim has to reveal anything to the media. I've said that many times on the channel. Like, owners, managers, they're not beholden to the media to explain these things in depth. Now they're contractually bound to give these interviews. That's part of it. Like, it's not Amorim's choice to give these interviews. He has to do them. So, but yeah, I don't think you should reveal anything personally. I don't think anybody is entitled to that information. It boggles my mind, the fans and the content creators who think they're entitled to like injury news and what goes on behind the scenes. Like, no, you're fucking not. You're really not. Especially when it comes to injuries. That's private health information. You don't get access to that. Wildez says, really Delap from a team going down. Ouch. Reportedly, he's a big target for us, but we'll see. It doesn't help us, I don't think. Compose View says, Wolves have always played a similar system. Now Crystal Palace players is another topic. Yeah. Crystal Palace players didn't used to play this three at the back, and they have, and they're doing very well. So maybe it's players, maybe it's manager. Well, it's hard to know for sure, right? Lucky Singh says, I'm with the manager. Yes, he made mistakes, but come in at the wrong time. Yeah, that's a big part of it too. He came in at a very, very difficult time. Like I said, you don't come in mid-season as a manager if things are going well at this club, and they were not going well, let's face it. Ten Hag had us 8th last season. Yes, we won the FA Cup. I'm glad about that. But then we were in 14th by November, and we were doing shit in Europe. We were only on 3 draws in the Europa League. We were just getting absolutely bent. Then he says, letting Spurs win with 1 shot on target and not winning 2 Premier League games in a row is sackable regardless of the players. Yeah, there's a lot stacked against Amorim right now. He's going to have to do, because I don't think he's going anywhere unless it starts off just horribly next season. But he's got to know that he's on thin ice, and he's got to know that he has a lot of ground to make up to get fans back on side. And like someone said, why would anyone want to play under him like right now? He's just going to have to accept that. This is the bed that he's made. He's going to have to lie in it. That this has long-term implications potentially, and part of it is that question, why would I want to go there? Why would I want to play for this guy? He doesn't look like he knows what he's doing at the moment. But we'll see. It could all turn around like it did at Sporting. We won't know, though. Wildad says managers have lifespan less than an apple. Just sort out management and player power. But again, the new ownership, you never know what's going to happen. But sackable, yeah. DJ says next season teams will move from copying Pep's system, which has been found out, and more will start adopting the Fergie direct system combined with a physical Josie one. Yeah, that's where I think things are going. That's exactly where I think things are going. So Wildad says we need to go with a new young manager. I think if I remember correctly, I think my pick last year was Nagelsmann, but that was a hard one to get out of the German. He'd just taken the Germany job, so I don't think that's going to have. Compose View says, I hear what you're saying about the PL being physical. I do believe if you are unique, it doesn't matter what the league's nature is. When Pep came, the league was technically nature. Yeah, and Pep just turned it into a technical league, and now Klopp and Liverpool this season have turned it into a physical league, and that's why you're seeing teams like Forest, Wolves, Newcastle, Brighton, Fulham. These physical teams can literally rock up to even the better sides and get a result because they are more physical. Now, if you find a way to combine the technical with the physical, you'll probably end up winning the league a couple times, and you'll probably have a strong push in Europe, but it's just rare to find that because for so long it's been about the technical. The clubs aren't stacked with players who can do both, and so it is a bit of a rebuild no matter where you look at it. Danny does not think Delap is coming to us. It's sad though if that's the case though. That was the point I made earlier. Like now you got Delap possibly rejecting us. Still, I don't know why Delap thinks he's entitled to Champions League football. I mean, we've had one semi-fine, acceptable season in the Premier League. I mean, he didn't get that many goals, so I don't get why he's doing this. But Bach says, if Delap is not coming, who are we listing looking at center forward? Honestly, I just go get Jonathan David. He's available on a free. He's a good striker. He's not good as Gyökeres. Let's not fool ourselves. I'd rather have Gyökeres, but like we're not getting Gyökeres at this point. It's not going to be Gyökeres will probably go to Arsenal or Chelsea or some shit. Compose View says the league then was more like how Liverpool played under Klopp. I'd like Amorim to be unique and not succumb to the nature of the league, but impose his ideas. It's going to be a big ask. Amorim can play his system, I think. I hope if we have players who are more physical. You don't have to change the system, but you do need to change some of these players. Because right now the players they are technical, some of them, but they're just not physical at all. Danny V says, yeah, the FFP PSR excuse next from Spinios. I mean, it's not an excuse. PSR is a thing. We know it's a thing, and we know that we've been spending way more than we've been making from transfers. That's just information that's out there. Now, PSR operates on a 3-year window, and you've got 3 years to kind of make the ends meet. And if you can't do it, then you start getting your fines, then you start getting your punishments. But we can't just do like Chelsea and start selling off the women's team, start selling off hotels and whatnot, because that just can't work. But I mean, PSR is the reality of the situation, and it's not Ineos's fault, but I do think they needed to be more proactive and more creative in finding solutions to it instead of just, like you're saying, using it as an excuse. It's not enough to use an excuse. You got to also do stuff to figure out a way out of it. Box says, sorry, we go again. Sorry to the fans for this defeat. Yeah, after defeat number 20 this season. Yeah, it's fucking bullshit, man. DJ says they are in the USA for a tour next week. Can't stand. Yeah, I'm not. If you got anyone who complains about ticket prices that Ineos has raised, says go to an American sporting event. You can go to the worst Major League Baseball side, and you're still going to be paying probably twice as much as you're going to pay for a United match. When they come here for the tours, you're going to be paying about $100-$150 for these tickets, maybe more. And it's the way we do things in America. Like, we charge way more. United feels like Disney movies. I mean, United feels like the start of a Disney movie where all the parents, like all the animal parents, get shot or something, or someone's parents die. Why do all the Disney movies have parents dying? Tarzan, Bambi, Lion King. We feel like the worst, most tragic part of any Disney movie right now. So we are Mufasa falling. Sorry, spoiler alert. We are Bambi's mom getting shot. We are all these worst parts of the Disney movies. If you haven't seen these movies, I don't know what the hell you're doing with your life, but sorry if that's a spoiler, but the movies have been out for like 40 years. So UK says, I would cut short their end of the season break. Like, the awards is one thing. Like, I know the club canceled the awards dinner and they opted for the barbecue, but again, cancel that shit. Nobody should be able to go on vacation. You should be, and honest to God, any player who gives half a shit about what just happened yesterday, what's happened this season, and what happens moving forward should be at Carrington right now, like training. Nobody in that team, coach or player, should be thinking about awards. Shaw said after the match, like, the players, we need to ask ourselves if they're good enough for United. You don't have to ask yourself. It's not rocket science. It's not a freaking SAT. The answer is no, Luke. None of you right now are good enough to play for this club. You guys have disgraced the club, the badge, the fans, the history, literally everything that came before you. You guys have absolutely disgraced and stained black. It's awful. I'll be honest. I'm hard pressed right now to tell you that we're going to do a preview for this Villa match on the weekend. Because I'm going to be honest. This might be the first United match that I'm not actively planning to make time for. Like, can't be bothered to watch it. Right. I'm not planning on watching it. Part of me wants people to not even attend it at Old Trafford. And it's not like, these players can't be bothered. Why should I? It's not any of that. I'm just not interested. Literally can't be bothered to watch it because I just don't care right now. Don't let it ruin the rest of your week, though. Don't even let the rivals upset you. Like, Justin was telling me there's some Liverpool supporter we know trying to banter me like 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon wise from like 3 people away, trying to like banter me right now, asking me to do a safety check. Right now, I'm unbanterable. I'm literally banter proof. There's literally nothing a rival fan can say about the club, about the players, about the match that I haven't already said. There's nothing they could say that I haven't already said, that I haven't already thought, that we haven't talked about today or at any point during the season. There's nothing you can say that I haven't. It's literally like the final rap battle in the movie 8 Mile. Tell these people something they don't already know about me. You can't say anything that I haven't already said, so come at me. What are you going to hit me with that I haven't hit myself with? I think it too. I'm pointing the finger at the players and the manager just like you are. It is what it is. So nothing there is going to make me upset. I'm banter proof today because I'm literally saying anything you would have said. That's just how it is. Box says, boycott the Villa game, have a totally empty stadium, bar the 4K Villa fans who would send a message. But it will never happen. No cohesiveness. No, it's not going to happen because they'll take away people's season tickets, day trippers. And I'm not being discriminatory when I say I'm a day tripper. When I go to United, I'm there for a couple matches and I'm back. Like, people, the stadium will be filled. What needs to happen is people need to walk out because if you don't go, your ticket will still be sold. If you go and then leave, that to me, they can't stop that. Leave like literally 10 minutes into the first half, just everybody who wants to walk out. That's the way to do it. Because if you don't go, your ticket will be sold. Your seat will be filled. It's just the way it's going to be. But I hear you. I definitely hear you. Teresa says, don't know if it's been mentioned, but the goal came off Luke Shaw. How is that Amorim's fault? United had 6 shots on target. They had 1, and it wasn't even their effort. No, and that's the thing. That's why I put the question out there. I thought it was still a Shaw OG, but that's what I pointed out. I pointed out the stats, the shots, and I said, like, Amorim's system has gotten us into this situation, and not for the first time, but the players are just not delivering in those moments. So that's the question. It's like there's not a right or wrong. I'm asking what you think about that. But I hear you. I definitely hear you. Wild Dead Wolf says, Luke Shaw never played same since took bacon and cheeseburger. Luke Shaw has not been the same since he broke his leg. Since that Champions League game against PSV Eindhoven like 10 years ago. Literally has not been the same. For the next few years after he got fit again, was lacking confidence, did not want to take anybody on, did not want to get engaged in tackles. And then Jose came in and didn't play him, started Young over him, started Brandon Williams over him instead, literally criticized him, threw him under the bus, said, hey, it's his body, but it's my brain. Killed his confidence altogether. It wasn't until like Ten Hag and the 22-23 season that we saw probably the best Luke Shaw we've ever seen. He was our player of the season. But since then, just more and more injuries, they're just not going away. And so it's just what it is. Teresa says, Sean, it was Amorim's I'll walk comment. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like the same thing that Pep said when City got charged. Like if they're guilty, I'll leave, right? But yeah, I mean, again, you're responding to what you're asked, nothing you can do. Teresa says, Onana wasn't watching the gameplay either. He moved too late. Onana was garbage yesterday, man. I'm just going through these chats before I let y'all get out of here. What we see. Wild Dead Wolf says, great point. Arsenal gone more power, hence Rice was much more technical. Yeah, we missed out on Rice. We need to find the next Rice, personally. We need to look at guys like Yashari, guys like Adam Wharton. Guy, who's I just looking at this morning that I was looking at? I can't remember now who it was off the top of my head. Another midfielder I was looking at. Some good midfielders out there we need to definitely be going to take a look at personally. Matt Hatter says, I loved when the Premier League was more physical, just more enjoyable to watch. Yeah, and that's why people liked Jurgen Klopp's system, because it is enjoyable. But it used to do my head in that they would call it like this tactical genius. It's just 80s kick and rush football. It's all it is. It's Trent Alexander-Arnold spamming long balls to guys like Salah and Sadio Mane over and over and over again until one of them finds a target on a counterattack. It's not ingenious. It's just he just demanded a lot of his players. And Klopp's biggest thing was he was able just to motivate the players to push themselves to a different level physically and mentally. It wasn't technical by any sense of the term. Wild Dead says, Kevin De Bruyne going to Orlando. Interesting. I saw that Miami gave up their discovery rights, which MLS is weird. Don't jump into that rabbit hole. You'll never come back out. Fox says, were you surprised to see Kone lined up for a loan move to Lausanne Sports for 25-26 season? He hasn't played once yet for the first team. He was expected to be fast-tracked, wasn't he? He might have been expected to be. He is a little older, but it doesn't always mean that you will be. I don't have a problem using Lausanne as like for that reason, like loaning some of these youngsters when they're maybe too good for the academy, but not quite ready for the first team. That's the point. sell Nice. We should sell Nice like outright, just plain and simple. Use Lausanne as an in-between, basically. While it says, why not get Jamie Vardy free? That's a Woodward and a Glazers thing right there. He's better than who we have, but I mean, if we're gonna get a striker that's not available as a free agent, go get Jonathan David. You can get Vardy too, and to tell Højlund to fuck off. I mean, Vardy and Jonathan David wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, but if we only got Jamie Vardy on a free, that's got Glazernomics written all over it. Mad Hatter says, would Fergie retiring be the Mufasa scene? Oh, jeez. No, Fergie retiring, I mean, that's not a Disney movie. That's just sad day for everyone. But I mean, he earned it. It is what it is. Like he says, some of these players are not worthy of the shirt. A lot of these players are not worthy of the shirt, man. So make United great again. You're saying, yeah. I mean, should I design a shirt for that? I mean, I didn't mention the store today because I didn't want to. I don't think anyone wants to buy any gear. But in case you are new, the channel does have a store. The link is in the description where you can buy shirts, hoodies, stuff like that I design and put up there. They're very cheap. They're not expensive. There's usually sales, so keep a lookout for sales. But maybe I should make United great again, or would people get into fights if people were wearing those around here? United for life. Fuck our rivals. That's why we're called United versus everybody, man. Danny says he started Luke Shaw, which everyone can tell the last game was finished. Yeah, I just don't get that. And that decision itself is just, that's why Amorim takes responsibility. That's the nature of the job, and he knows it. But again, just for the way things played out, he does take responsibility. And I think no Ugarte at all, starting Shaw, playing Shaw the whole match, waiting until it was way too and I'm starting to get more and more frustrated as I talk about this, because it's like literally everything we said in the preview to do and not to do, Amorim did the opposite. And it's like, and I'm not by any stretch of the a manager. I don't have any sort of tactical genius. There are plenty of other channels that are out there that tactically are way more. You guys know that's not my main thing. Like, you want to talk tactics, go watch AJ Analysis. The guy is top in my opinion. But I say all that to say, like, I am like nowhere near those guys. I can look at the way Spurs are going to play. I can look at what we need to do. And I seem to know more than Amorim in that regard. Like, Amorim made all these poor decisions. Like, and you guys are the same. Like, you guys are looking at this and like, why do we do this? Why do we do that? Who knows? It might not have worked out, but I think it would have put us in a better position. Why can't Amorim and his coaching staff do it? I don't get it. Why do we need to pay someone to make an algorithm to find injury-prone players? The internet is free. All the information is right there. It doesn't take an algorithm or paying someone $200K a year to go online and say, yep, Mason Mount's probably going to have more injuries because of the nature of his injuries. Did it in 30 seconds on Google. It's not fucking hard. Box says, isn't Vardy 40? And don't hate on being 40. I'm going to be 40 in a couple months. So Wildest says, United used Shop, Harrods, UK, and now Walmart. That's bad. Don't hate on Walmart. Why is everyone hating? Walmart's legit. You know what I found at Walmart? Pop-Tart ice cream sandwiches. That'll change your life. Composed View says, an unpopular opinion. What about Elliot Anderson from Forest? Is he that midfielder? There are midfield is one of the positions right now that there are so many good players out there to go out and get. And I just don't understand why we're not looking more. Like Zaire Emery, not really playing a ton under Luis Enrique. Hard to get into that midfield. Dude, go get Zaire Emery. He's better than who we have, man. Like, Composed View says, Anderson's typical English midfielder, nothing special, just does the job. Yeah, there's a lot of players out there who are like that, who are just, they'll run, they'll do what you need them to do, and that's how they're going to roll. Hold on one second. I just want to see who this other midfielder was that I looked up, because now it's going to bug me. I'm about to wrap it up there, you guys. So I'm trying to get through these chats because I want to make sure everybody's getting their views thrown out there. But I know it's going to bother me if I can't figure out who this person was that I'm not going to be able to find it. So DJ says, are there any good players on a free? Problem is their wage and Champions League. Some of them, yeah. Some of them might want Champions League, but they'll get a bigger bonus. But again, they have to also be wanted by clubs too. Like, I'm surprised. I haven't seen anything about Bashali. I think I saw like Dortmund linked back in November, and that was it. Teresa says, Amorim got rid of 25 players his first transfer at Sporting. Can't wait to see how many are going on the vacation they enjoy. Yeah, there are about 25 players that need to go for real. Frezing, 87, welcome. Amorim's fault. Shaw, Ahmad, Mount should be benched. Ahmad, I disagree on because Ahmad is, aside from Bruno, Ahmad's one of the players I do think can impact the match. But he just didn't have a good game yesterday, and that's hindsight. You never know who's going to have a good game or not. But Shaw should not have started. Definitely should not. But welcome to the channel, Frezing. I do agree to an extent, not 100%, but thank you. Frezing says Ugarte, Garnacho, Lindelof should start. So now we're getting somewhere. I definitely would have started Ugarte. Ugarte didn't even play. Garnacho, I probably would have started. If you watch the preview, I had Garnacho starting in the 9 and not Højlund. So, but big up, Frezing. Good to see a new face. I'm just wrapping up here. I'm trying to get through the chats before I get going because it's been almost 2.5 hours because that's insane. Kai says, do you believe that Amorim has been told to play British players? If you're telling a manager who to play, then that's a problem. That, to me, if I'm a manager and someone's telling me what to play, like, I would walk. Ollie, that happened to Ollie at Cardiff. He was told by the owner who to play, and that played a big role in why Cardiff were. Let's not pretend Ollie got Cardiff relegated. They were already pretty much relegated when he took over. He took over like mid-season. They were already shit. Nobody was saving Cardiff that season. But Ollie even said after the fact he was told by owners who to play. If that happens though at a club like United, that's a problem. That's such a problem. I would walk away and I would spill the beans on my way out the door. I would forego any compensation and I would just let people know. Bro, if you need to see tactics, watch a movie called Mike Bassett. What is that? Bassett, English manager. Right on. No, big up. Lucky thinks Shaw was asked to play by the board. Interesting. I don't know. I mean, one of these days it's all going to come out, right? Matt Hatter says, Amorim wearing United blazer and casual clothes was my first time we were losing. Oh, no. At least he didn't wear a hoodie this time. Wildhead says, really watch Mike Bassett, England manager, is how United play. Interesting. Yeah, I'll take note of it. Wildhead says, great show, bro. Big up. No, thank you for stopping by, and I appreciate that. It's you guys. I'm just trying to read as many comments as I can. You guys know that's what I try to do on the channel. Sometimes it does mean longer videos, but I want to make sure everybody gets an opinion out there. So, Box, is Bashali going to Brighton? I haven't seen anything by that. I remember we saw rumors. Most of the Bashali stuff came out ahead going into the January window, obviously, because in January, when you're available on a free in the summer, you can sign a pre-contract. I just haven't seen anything. So, hot fuzz and getting some new faces. I love it. Can't believe we're starting a TikTok star in a European final. Luke Shaw I never had TikTok. I don't even know what Instagram is really. Like, I know what it is. I've just never had an Instagram, so I don't even have a Facebook. I haven't had Facebook in like 10 years. So when it comes to social media, I am all of my age on social media because I'm old. Composer uses Amorim is to be sacked, which I doubt. I go for Hertzler, Brighton's coach, or someone of similar ilk. Hertzler doesn't actually have a super great win percentage at Brighton. I looked that up earlier because we were talking about that yesterday a little bit while I was watching the game. Remember, Xavi Hernandez is still kicking around out there. There are managers. I don't want to talk too much about sacking Amorim quite yet. I still think it's overall, if you look at the grand scope of things, I think he hasn't been here long enough for me to see anything. But yesterday there were a lot of bad decisions. And then again, looking at the league in the season, it's not great at all. He definitely needs to do better. But Hafa says, don't worry, guys. According to him, all our mums are on benefits. What's happening? Lucky's been Glazers out fan support gloves since 1980. Seen tough times. 1980, interesting. Wild Dead Wolf says, bro, love the Cantona shirt. Was at Palace to see that Kung Fu kick. Nice. Yeah, this was my first shirt that I ever got. This is the original actual jersey. I just put it in a frame. So this is the whole shirt. I could take it out and wear it if I wanted to, but there's another one above it that fell and broke one day. That's why it's above it. And then there's tons more. It's not a flex when I talk about how many jerseys I have because it's very embarrassing. I have a lot. You guys will see them. Normally I wear them. I didn't want to wear any today because I'm really annoyed with these players, but big up. No, yeah, this is one of my favorites. The rumored like next year's third kit is supposed to be like this one. So if so, that's going to be fire, but I'm happy. But like he says, this is nothing new to me that we have declined as a club. Yeah, the decline, like this is what happens when you like when Fergie retired and David Gill retired and literally we had that opportunity to start a rebuild properly and just the people in charge just incompetent in every sense of the word. And that's why how many times have we said we have to do a rebuild, because we didn't get it right. We didn't stick to our guns. We didn't have a long-term plan or any plan. And this is what happens. And this is why we're here now. So, Wild Dead Wolf says, question your best striker. I like it. Ever? When we did a all-time 11 stream in the summer, you can go back and find that one. You guys jumped in, and I had some guests, and we did an all-time 11. All-time striker, I mean, I don't know. I like Rude, and Ollie, to me, Ollie was very underrated. Ollie was an absolute clinical finisher. Obviously, Rooney, second striker. Cantona, it's hard. There's too many. We've had some great strikers over the years. If I had to pick right now, it'd probably be Rude, just because I remember more Rude than I do of Cantona, simply because in the mid 90s and up until like the early 2000s, being in America, we didn't have a whole lot of access. So I remember it was about mid 2000s where we did start to have more access. So I was able to watch more stuff regularly. So Rude is fresher in my mind, but there's no doubting Cantona was not class, right? My best keeper. I mean, we voted Van der Sar. I'm gonna stick with Van der Sar. So Bach says, just like some boring solid football, a bit like 15-16 LVG, cut the losses out, reduce the goals conceded, get in the top 8. We want that Ollie ball back. But yeah, let me know your favorite keeper, your favorite strikers, guys. Please hit that like button for me. What's this poll up to now? Let me see what this poll. Wow, 46 votes. Big up, you guys. That's a ton of votes. 52 is very, very close. So I asked the question beginning of the stream, what was the bigger issue yesterday, players or Amorim? 48% of you say the players. 52% say Amorim's fault. That is very, very close. What that tells me is that it was a little of both, probably, right? Amorim's system saw us create those chances, get into those positions. The players let him down. Amorim, team selection probably played a role as well, because I do think we missed out on some things, and some of the players that started and played were net negatives in many ways, i.e. Shaw. Too late now to go back and do it. Amorim's going to have to sit with that. The players are going to have to sit with that, but it is what it is. I'm glad that we got a chance to reflect on it. Please don't let it ruin your day. Don't let it ruin your weekend. I don't know if I'm going to do an Aston Villa game. I will let you guys know if we'll do any previews or any reactions to that. I don't even know if I'm going to watch it, is the problem. So we'll see what happens. But we will be back. You guys know I won't stay away too long. So I do appreciate everybody getting involved today. It was such a good stream. This is like back-to-back, like top drawer streams because of all you absolute legends. We've had so many new people jumping in. When Dylan was here the other day and we did the preview, it was such a good show. This one might have topped it, in my opinion. You guys are absolute legends. Hit that like button for me. Please subscribe to the channel. If you do want to get more involved in the content, and if you are new, we didn't do some of this stuff today, but sometimes we'll do questions from a boot, or I'll pull a random question out of my football boot and we'll put it to the chat. I do scouting reports as well periodically, so memberships do let you get involved in those. And then we have what the seasons of What If. So I've done season 1. You can go back and check that playlist. So basically, What If is just 4 episodes of me reimagining how things would have looked had key moments from United's history gone differently. Season 2 will drop once this season ends, this Premier League season ends, so keep a lookout for that. Memberships do allow you to get involved in that as well, but go check that out. And then you can also check out the store too. I didn't mention it a whole lot, but there are some t-shirts and stuff. I'll forgive anyone for not wanting to buy anything right now, but I appreciate everybody. Cheers, Danny. Cheers, all the new faces. Cheers, Mad Hatter as well. You guys are absolute legends. Wild Def. Yeah, my favorite player is Giggs. That's the jersey you can't see. The Giggs jersey used to be here, but I bumped it one day and it fell and cracked. So I moved it up so you couldn't see the crack. But Giggs jersey is right there. I got a Bex, a Rooney, Ronaldo, and Scholes jersey across the wall. I've got a Gary Pallister signed armband over here. I've got a Sir Alex Ferguson jersey signed over there. I've got the front page of the MEN from when Rooney scored his record-breaking goal. I've got that one framed over there. I go a little crazy with my memorabilia, but I appreciate you guys. Go enjoy the rest of your day. I will see you guys on the next one. Thank you again. Cheers, everyone. Big up yourselves, all you legends, and I will see you guys on the next one. Later.